Hey friends, I wanted to make this video to show you how to find product market fit in software slash SaaS businesses. Because we've done this, we run cold emails for clients. We teach like 79, almost 80 people in our school community now on how to run cold email and basically get clients from cold email in software. And so we know how this stuff works and we know how to reach a market with an offer that actually sells. But essentially, how do we find product market fit? Well, to do that, we need to know what this even is. So PMF, which stands for product market fit, could have guessed it, means that people want your product enough to buy it and keep buying it. All right. This is a very simple first principles definition. All right. So essentially, you know that you have product market fit when you consistently, let me write this here because that's important, get sales calls, all right, close people, and retain them. That's essentially it, all right? So product market fit means people want your product enough to buy it and keep buying it, which means you consistently get sales calls or demos, whatever. You close people from those demos and you retain them, which means they keep buying over and over again. If you fail any of these steps, something is wrong. Because if you get sales calls and you close them, but they don't stay, then your product sucks, which means you don't have product market fit. All right. If you have a great product and everyone you did close stayed forever, but you just don't close anyone from the sales calls, then you have a issue with product market fit slash sales. If you close like 30% of people, which is a healthy number, and you retain all of them, but you get no sales calls, your offer sucks. And so you need all these three things in order to achieve product market fit so you can scale. All right. And so these things are basically a appointment setting system, but then we have a sales system, and here you have churn, which you need to keep in mind. And so the easiest way to go about this, whether you have nothing right now or you're in the process of building something or you're already getting sales calls and you're looking for this traction, is you need to fundamentally, you need a good cold traffic adjusted offer. Let me tell you why. So your whole market exists on this scale, on this continuum, right? Let me not make this too ugly. Here you go. And essentially on one side, you have cold leads, traffic, right? The cold part of your market. And then you have warm. All right. So cold and warm. And what a lot of people do is they have warm traffic offers and they try to sell it to cold traffic. Now, the thing is, if you want to actually scale your business, you need a cold traffic offer unless you have like a huge social following. But even then, it's worth it to build this because I assume you're not an influencer with millions of followers, right? And so this is your market. And if we create an offer that works for this part of the market right here, all right, this is a cold traffic offer, then the nice thing about this is that you can sell this to people here, you can sell it to people here, and anyone else on this thing, right? But if we look the other way, if you have a warm traffic offer, you can only sell it to warm traffic. You cannot sell it to cold traffic. So if we get this right, you can sell one offer to everyone, and the conversion rates will just be higher the more you go to the right. And since I can't tell you exactly what product to sell, because that's not the point of this video, because everyone's going to sell a different thing, I'm going to give you a very, very simple and straight to the point framework of what you're going to do. All right? Step number one is you're going to find stuff people are already buying. All right? And then your product is going to be easier, better, and or faster. And then you're going to write an offer statement, and then you're going to send that to the entire TAM, which just means total addressable market. All right? Find stuff people are already buying. There are billions of dollars transacted every single day where people are paying for solutions for problems that they have. You don't need to invent something that doesn't exist yet. You just simply need to find something that already converts on cold traffic, which means you do competitor research. You look at everyone that's in your market. You look what they're doing. All right? And then you take one of these variables, easier, better, and or faster. You can take all three. I would recommend you just try to do one and max the fuck out of it. All right? If you don't know which one, just choose faster. Speed is the best thing you can do with your offer because people like fast results, no matter if you sell to small businesses or enterprise companies. Speed is important, all right? And so if you can choose any of these, choose speed. But if you have a way to see, okay, there's these two businesses who are selling this thing to cold traffic repeatedly, and I know how to make it easier to use for the user and faster, do it, all right? That's how you develop the thing you're building into what actually converts. It doesn't matter what you're building if it's not going to sell, all right? So this is the order you go in. You find stuff people are already buying, then you make it easier, better, and or faster. And then you write an offer statement. So what does a cold traffic offer have? It has 4 components, right? You have the dream outcome, and this is from Alex Hormozy, the offer equation. You have perceived likelihood of achievement, right? How likely or how much do I think what the chances that I will actually achieve this dream outcome? Then you have effort / sacrifice, right? And then you have time delay. And so you want to ideally lower these two and you want to increase these two as much as possible. This is your offer equation here. All right. So dream outcome is just what do they get? How likely are they going to get it? How much do they have to do and how fast are they going to get the thing? If you max these 4, so you make the outcome as high as possible and the perceived likelihood as high as possible via social proof or showing them the exact mechanism, you make the effort and sacrifice as low as possible, which is easier, right? And you make the time delay as little as possible, which is faster, then you can build an offer for a cold market that you can then sell to the entire market. Pretty cool. And so when it comes to the offer statement, you are simply going to write down these points. So you're going to say, what do they get? And who it's for. So we get ICP, which means ideal customer profile, which means who are you selling this to? Who actually spends money on this and gets results from this? Dream outcome, which ideally is quantified, doesn't need to be, without effort, in just time. And then you just increase, you input a guarantee / risk reversal. So if you include a guarantee or a risk reversal, that's certainly needed to sell to cold traffic unless you have banger case studies. All right? If you don't have them or you have just a few, you're going to need this. All right? You're just going to close more people. If you say, like, if your software saves someone money and you say, well, if we don't save you X amount in 90 days, you're going to get your whole money back that you paid us. That's a nice thing. All right? Or the ways you can do this is money back, right? In full or percentages, depending on what your margins allow and how risky you want to do this, and also depending on how many case studies you have. Because it's like an inverse. If you have a lot of case studies, your guarantee can be worse. And if you have a little case study, then your guarantee needs to be better, right? They exist like this. You can just say pay on results, which is like, do you actually only pay when you get something out of it? Which could be like per appointment or per lead, like a percentage cut from whatever you do, from revenue, from money saved, from taxes saved, from whatever your software does, right? You can have usage-based, which is just like you literally just pay for what you use. And all of these things will be your guarantee / risk reversal, which makes it attractive for cold traffic. If you just have warm, you don't even need these things. You can just say, we sell software with these features, and there's extremely warm traffic who love you. They're going to buy it anyway because they don't care. All right. So you're going to write these bullet points under each of these things. What do you get then? Then you make a guarantee. You make the effort as low as possible, which means like make it as easy as possible for them to get the result. If your software is complicated, for example, and they need a whole onboarding and training session, I know sometimes that can't be avoided, but if it can be, try it. If you can have a simple AI set up the whole software once they log in from just a few details, that makes it easier to use, right? If you have a simpler UI that just allows people to do to see what they need to see and not see all the other garbage and not write support every day because your software is too complicated and does too many things, then your effort sacrifice will be better, right? And if you make time delay better, that's obvious. How fast can they get it? sign up, like get your account immediately, self-serve, checkout, whatever you can do it. And now once we have this offer statement, we need to send this offer out to the market. All right? Because if this market doesn't know that this offer exists, then they can't buy it. And this is the actual art of finding product market fit. Because you're going to come up with an offer. And now you need to get it to the market with extremely high volume as fast as possible so you can actually get quantifiable results. Because these things right here that allow you to even know if you have this are based on data, right? On statistics. If you only have 1 or 2 sales calls, let's say you book 2 sales calls to make this very extreme. You close one and you don't close the other. Your close rate's now 50%, but that's not a true number. That's bullshit. You need 100 sales calls that actually closed, which means you have like thousands. And then that number you get is actually statistically significant. Same thing with the appointment booking rate and the churn rate. You need enough people in there, which means you need to get this offer out to the market a lot, which means you don't send 100 emails per day and do 100 cold calls a day and post 1 piece of content. That's nothing. All right? If you're actually serious about this, you're going to do the following. And this is what we do for clients as well. You're going to set up a cold email system. But a cold email system that sends out as many emails as people are in your TAM. TAM, again, total addressable market. Not sure if I spelled that right, but anyway. All right, you have your total addressable market, which might be, for simplicity's sake, 100,000 companies. I know a lot of people put TAM in like dollar amount. That's not what I'm talking about. Just talking about the number of companies here. All right? Let's say those are 100,000 companies in your total addressable market. Ideally, you want to reach this entire TAM every 30 days with this offer, because then that's the first indicator of positive interest. If you get positive replies to your cold emails, this works. Now, why cold email, you may ask? Let me draw another thing like this right here. All right? You have the slide. And on the slide, you have different levels of lead generation system. And now, this is similar to this where it's cold and warm, which is basically how easy is it to get sales calls. The easiest way is just having inbound traffic. It takes time to set up, but I'm not talking about setup time. I'm talking about conditions. Because inbound traffic is warm. All right? And then you have webinars, which are also for semi-warm traffic to convert them into very warm traffic. And then you have cold calls somewhere here because you actually talk to a person, so it's easier to sell. And cold email is the hardest environment to book sales calls from because it's a total stranger that you don't talk to, you've never seen them. You need to land in the primary inbox between 50 other emails. So that means if your offer gets results on cold email, which is the coldest it can get, right? That means it will work for all of these other ones too. So if you test it and you manage to do it right with cold email, you can just apply the same offer statement, put it on your website as a headline, make webinars about it, make cold calls with the exact same script that you used in the cold emails, and it will get results, and you know it will. It's not a guess anymore because it worked here. It worked in the hardest environment, so it will also work in the easiest environment. Right? So this is why you want to set up cold email. So you're going to set up the cold email system with very simple scripts. I can give you an example like, hi, John, if we did, let me just simplify this if we did outcome, which is the outcome of your offer, in time without you needing to, effort, would you be open to quick video explaining how? And then you can optionally add PS, we recently did this for XYZ, and you've got a result. All right. For the result, be specific. Specific proof works better than a generic proof. Recent proof works better than old proof, and specific meaning you also say which clients they are. But if you can't, that's all good. So you're going to send very simple one-line cold emails with your offer to your entire market, which means you're going to send 100,000 emails every single month. And the good thing is, if you use the AI copywriter that's trained on all these emails, you'll get different angles, which means you don't send the same email over and over again.
you send one angle from that offer for the first 30 days. If they don't respond 30 days later, you send another email that looks different, but leads to the same offer. All right? And so doing this, you can capture most of the market. And then once you get healthy numbers, right, which is like a 1 to 2% reply rate, you have 10 to 20% positive reply rate, and you book like 80 or let's say 60 to 80% actually book, and then 70% of those are qualified / show up, right? And then you have a 30% close rate, or 20 to 30% on the sales calls. If you get these numbers, you can scale cold email to the moon, right? Because if you have these numbers, that means it's working. You now have a cold traffic offer that converts people from cold email into actual clients. All right? Which then means you can just add 2 zeros here and send 10 million cold emails every month and just make 100 times more money. And you can save this exact offer statement that you now know works with cold traffic and just apply it to inbound, start making content. You can start cold calling. You can add multi-channel outreach, do all of these things with an offer, and you know it works. All right? But yeah, this is essentially your roadmap to find product market fit for your software business. All right? So to summarize, it means people want your product enough to buy it and keep buying it, which means you get sales calls, you close those sales calls, and you retain them. By the way, I can't tell you how to retain them because that just literally means how good is your product, which is not part of this video. And then you have your market, which you need to understand on this continuum. There's cold and warm. You want to make a cold traffic offer which follows these 4 principles here. Dream outcome, likelihood of achievement, effort, sacrifice, time delay. You can sell cold traffic offers to the entire market, but you can only sell warm traffic offers to warm traffic, which is why you make a cold one, right? And you find stuff people are already buying. You make it easier, better, or faster. You write this offer statement with this framework. You send that to the entire total addressable market using cold email every 30 days with different scripts. And as soon as you have these numbers, you can reliably scale with the same system or add different ones on top of that. That's the entire thing. I wanted to cover some offers you can run, right? And I'll explain what I mean, because the offer is not your product or a discount. It's an offer, right? The cold email scripts to input that offer into, how to record demo videos, because that's what we'll be using for our cold email strategy. But you need to do this right, not just a basic video, and a bonus on how to get a free lead source at the end, because this is what we recently found and it's working pretty well, and it's basically free. It's very cheap. So let me just straight up go into this with offers you can run, right? And for to make this clear, an offer is not a discount. It's not your product. They're not features. They're not anything. An offer is simply there to get people on sales calls. All right? So you advertise something to get people on sales calls. And then on the sales call or demo, you ask them what their problem is, what they've tried, and then you honestly give them the best solution for them. If that best solution happens to be the offer you advertised, that's fine. If it's another solution that's not the offer you advertised, that's also fine. You're not doing anything wrong. You're simply giving the people the best thing for themselves, which means they have the highest likelihood to actually succeed. Whether that's more expensive or cheaper than the main offer you advertised doesn't really matter. All right? But you need to make an extremely attractive offer to get people on the call in the first place, because otherwise you can't help them. So you're helping people help themselves. All right? That's essentially what we're doing here. So that's what an offer is, fundamentally, right? And ideally, your offer, or ideally you're selling something that people are already buying, right? Whether that's in the in the form of a software, like you're doing it, or a service, or a course, or info, whatever, right? If people have this problem that you're solving and people are buying solutions for that problem, you have a good product, all right? Assuming you actually deliver results. That I can't help you with. But if you have that, you just need to make your offer fast, easy, and risk-free, all right? The more of these you have, the more cold traffic you will actually attract. So if you can offer, especially the risk-free part, that's what I'm going to go into, because this is very good for software, all right? So software offers. So risk-free just equals guarantee / pay on results / usage based. All right. That's essentially it. And this is all you really have in software. So one of the best offers you can run is a free trial because there's zero risk. Ideally, it's easy to sign up to and onboard. And it's also fast, right? So if you have a process on your website where people can create a free trial account immediately without talking to a sales rep, without giving you like all their info that they have and where they live and their DNA samples or something, just like one email with a name, and then they can create their free account, and you maybe have AI onboard them properly based on as little information as possible, so they can use the software immediately. It's easy to set up because they don't really have to set up anything, and it's risk-free because it's literally a free trial. If you offer free trials on cold email, it will absolutely crush. All right? Same thing as with free demo videos that are personalized. You can offer these in the cold email. Those are one of the best performing email scripts that we've used. Or you can just say, if you don't get X result in Y time frame, you'll get a full refund. No questions asked. You can, like, usage-based is obvious, and pay on results is also obvious, right? Because they literally don't pay until they get results, or they just pay for what they use, which is pretty obvious how that works, okay? And so this is how an offer could look like. If you don't have a free trial, try to make one because it's going to help you a lot. If you for some reason don't want a free trial, or your software has to have like an onboarding team because it's like difficult to set up, then just make free demo videos, all right? Either way, we're going to take one of these offers, all right? Just pick one, and we're going to take these, and we're going to input them into a cold email script, all right? And now we've sent over 20 million cold emails over the last like 4.5 years, done hundreds of thousands of cold calls. We've put thousands of meetings with like small businesses up to like big companies, Airbus, Lockheed Martin, McKinsey, Red Bull, Salesforce, all these hard to reach companies. It all works the same, right? Everyone tends to overcomplicate this stuff, but it's really not. So what works best is a one-line cold email approach. What does that mean? That simply means, you might have guessed it, that we send an email that's literally one line, maybe two. I'll get into that in a sec. So you say, hey John, hey first name, hey whatever, right? If we got you outcome of working with us and you could try it for free, would you be open to it? Or would you be,
to make it even more straightforward, interested? All right, so you actually convert these people. This is it.
I know you expected something very fancy, but it doesn't have to be. This is a one-line email. Now, the outcome of working with you is literally the outcome of the offer. All right? What do you get them? What's the dream outcome that people get when they implement your stuff? I'm not talking about features. What's the outcome? All right? Let's say they implement your stuff and they use it correctly and they keep using it. What problem is solved? What's the outcome of that? You can also flip this into problem line, which can be like, if we solved problem XYZ and you could try it for free, would you be interested? And then if you want to add something, you can say, PS, recently
did this for client XYZ and got them
result done. So you pick one of these and then you literally insert it here. Now this is for a free trial. What could we do for a demo video? Well, you say, let's switch it up a bit. If we solved problem XYZ in just time frame, so you can get outcome, would you want a quick video explaining how? Boom. And then you can leave the social proof in there if you want. And now if they actually respond, you say, awesome, here's the video. You hyperlink the video that you make for them. And then you say, feel free to schedule. And then you say, feel free to schedule a couple of minutes using this link, and you hyperlink like your calendar link. So I can set it up for you. Thanks. Very simple. And ideally, you do this part right here as soon as you get a positive response under 5 minutes. And we do this because the booking rates under 5 minutes are just 4 times higher than if you wait like an hour or a day longer. All right. This is why we do that. Keep it very simple. All right. If it's for free trial, you can literally send them a link to activate their free trial. No need for a sales call because that's easy and fast. And now if you use these emails, you're going to get results, right? Guaranteed. Because this is the main secret. People overcomplicate cold email so much. It's actually crazy. Now let's go to recording the demo video. So your demo video, which you can also put on your website as a VSL, by the way, which just means video sales letter, it's structured into very simple parts. So first of all, show them the most important thing first. Then you show social proof, more social proof. Then you say, if that's enough for you already, book a call. If not, here's more. Explain 3 to 4 more problems you solve in depth. And then CTA again, which is book a call. Right? This is the whole demo video structure that you're going to do. Now I've made this exact script here and a in-depth video on how to actually record this for software, where you can literally just insert the stuff with the preparation steps. It's like 2-3 pages long. If you want this, it's the third link in the description. All I need is your email so I can send you this thing. And like it takes 10 seconds, you can actually get the full script of this thing, so you know how to do high converting VSLs for software. And you can put them on your website too, because guess what? If it works for cold traffic, it's going to work for all your inbound traffic as well. And now talking about inbound traffic, right? A bonus on free leads that you can combine with your cold email strategy is you're going to set up a software called RB2B. All right. You can just Google this, or I'll put the link for you to sign up in the description as well. And so RB2B tracks your website visitors. All right. So what you're going to get is Slack messages that say who visited your website. And what you're going to do is as soon as someone visits your website, you're going to score or let's say research/filter for ICP fit, right? Because you don't want to be emailing people who don't even match what you're selling, which means you need to define what industry and stuff your ICP, ideal customer, is in. And then you have like AI or just build an N8N automation. This is very simple. You can just ask Claude to do this for you. Like literally just say, hey, I have RB2B. I need you to filter them for my ICP every time someone comes in. Here's my criteria. How do I do this? It's going to give you all the steps. This is really easy. You can figure this out. But as soon as they are like verified and the email actually exists, which you're going to use a tool like Million Verifier to actually verify the email. If the email comes back as okay, which means it actually exists, you're going to send them an email that looks something like this. Hey, John, it's Leon from Ledoc. You can obviously input your stuff here. One of the co-founders, you can also say this. All right, let me correct this. It's Leon, one of the co-founders at Ledoc. And then, so you say, saw you visited our page about getting you result/outcome. You literally just input what you do here. All right. For us, it's getting you more sales calls. For you, it might be something different, right? Whatever you do here. What's the main thing you're looking for? Question mark, which is an open-ended question. And you say, by the way, I read every reply because people know this is automated and you want to give them an incentive to actually do this because this feels like they're taken care of, which they are, because you should read every reply because those are leads. And you say, best Leon. That's literally it. All right. You can even give them your LinkedIn profile under here so they can connect with you and it makes you more human. But this is the core part. All right. And you're going to send them this basically immediately. You don't need to hide the fact that it's automated because everyone will know that it's automated. But that's why you say, by the way, I read every reply. So they know, okay, this is still landing with a human. It's not just a marketing campaign. All right. So this is what you do. And if you like give this to Claude or any AI and you just connect your RB2B, then it will make this for you, automated. And this is a whole new source of leads that you can now email, which are warm, and you can email them with your cold traffic offer, which means you're going to make a bunch of money on those, right? This is free. Like RB2B costs like what, $50 a month to actually give you all the stuff. So that's insane, right? Exactly how to qualify leads properly, because I see it go wrong so many times. People either overcomplicate this or don't have it at all.
So I'm going to be breaking this down into the fundamentals of what this actually means. All right. And so what does qualifying mean? Well, for me, it just means that the more qualified someone is, the higher the likelihood that they're going to get a result from my service or product. All right. So your most qualified leads are the ones who are most likely to buy, and therefore the most likely to also actually get a good result from your product, because you shouldn't be selling to anyone who can't. Okay. And so this whole thing exists on a continuum. So let's say we have this bar here, right? And here we have not qualified at all. And on the other hand, we have very qualified. Okay. And so I want to break this down into 3 categories. We have someone who's clearly not qualified. We have someone who is extremely qualified. And then we have this middle portion here. Okay. So these are the like 3 stages that you can put your leads into. That's a fundamental part. Okay. And so why do we do this? Well, if you approach it from the standpoint of, okay, well, someone who's qualified should be able to buy my product, first of all. So if they can't buy it, then I can't help them, so they're not qualified. And if they buy it, they have the highest likelihood to get the actual result that my product can offer. Like they have the best results out of all the clients that you have. And so what are you going to do here? Well, there's 2 steps kind of. If you already have clients, then what you're going to do is you filter all your customers, okay? And you're going to filter them by the following. You're going to see who spent the most amount of money, who stayed the longest, and who complained the least, and who got the best results. 4 criteria, okay? Who spent the most, who stayed the longest, complained the least, and who got the best results. And then you're going to have your whole market, right? Okay, let's say I'm going to draw a triangle here. Let's say this is your market, all right? And so this is going to be split into 2 parts. You're going to have your top 20%, and then you're going to have the bottom 80%, all right? So this is top 20, and then we have 80% of people here. All right, and this is filtered by this criteria that I mentioned, okay? I put this next. And so who you want as your customers are these people at the top, obviously, okay? These are the people that you want. And so you're going to find out what they have in common. And what do I mean here? Well, if it's B2B, you can filter by revenue, okay? So annual, monthly, mostly you get annual numbers, right? Or employee size, industry, right? You have all these things that you can see. And so you're going to filter by this criteria. You're going to find the top 20% of this whole list, and then you're going to see all the criteria that they have in common. And this right here becomes your ICP, okay? And ICP stands for Ideal Customer Profile, which is obvious, right? This is your ideal client. This is who you want. Okay, so you're going to have criteria now based on the commonalities of your best clients, and that now becomes your very qualified ICP. Okay, this green thing right here. Now, you're going to have people who are the complete opposite of this, all right? They're so low on the other end that they're not qualified at all. And then you have these people in the middle. What do we do with those? Well, there's multiple parts, and it kind of depends a bit on the industry. But what you want to do here is you can try to serve them if they got results, okay? Sometimes the split is very obvious, and it's really clear that the 80% of your customers aren't really the best. Like, they're just not. Sometimes it turns out that this whole thing is split into 3 parts, okay? So you might have like another line right here, and that's just like the other 20%, and then you have the rest of 60, something like that. And those 20 are in this middle range where they're not terrible, like they can get results, but they're not as good as this top 20% right here. Okay, so you can serve those as well, but in your CRM, whatever you're using, you're going to assign a different tag to them about a different type of customer, and this is ICP2. This is lower priority. Okay, so if you have nothing to work on for the primary ICP, only then you can work on this other one. Or you could say, okay, let's send these people to a self-checkout. Let's have more automated nurture sequences, and the upper one is more hands-on. So this is if you already have clients, okay?
So all of this is if you have customers and you can actually analyze this. And you're going to need at least 30 customers to actually do this. If you have less than 30 customers, you just don't have enough data. Okay, so all of the stuff that you're filtering doesn't really mean anything because you get 5 people more and suddenly your whole 20% looks completely different. All right, 30 is really the minimum. I'd go even higher, like 50 plus customers that you can analyze. Okay, but let's say you don't have any clients at all. What do you do then? Well, you need to find out what are the conditions that need to be true for someone to get a result on whatever you're offering, whether that be a service or product. Okay, and so you technically also need to do this if you already have customers, but you don't really need to because you already have the criteria. Okay, so people are already buying your stuff. It's good. If you're at the beginning, you have less than 30, right? Then you just need to figure out the conditions that are true for someone to get a result. And what do I mean with result? Well, result in this case equals a 3-to-1 ROI. All right? That is the goal here. If they don't have a 3-to-1 ROI on your product, then it's not worth it. This is like the average for B2B, okay? They want a 3-to-1 ratio from customer acquisition cost to the lifetime value. So what you're going to figure out is, okay, well, how much money does someone need to spend? And what's their LTV for them to be able to get this 3-to-1 ROI? And this is specifically for products that make people money. All right. So we're talking about lead generation, sales, outsource sales, something like that. Something that makes people money. If you save people money, it's the same thing. They need a 3-to-1 ROI on your service, at least. This is the minimum. All right. So you're going to figure out how much does someone need to spend. Okay. So this is the first question. How much spend to get ROI? Once you have this question, you can then, from this, figure out how much money do they need to be making in order to be able to spend this money. All right. And if you say, okay, well, someone needs to spend $3,000 for our service so we can cover our costs and do our thing so they actually get the result. If that's $3K that they need to pay, that doesn't mean that you can work with any business who can afford $3K a month, like who makes $3K a month, because then they have nothing left. So you're going to look into your industry, whoever you're selling to, and find out, okay, well, what's their margin? You can research this easily. What's the average margin in that industry? And then you're going to see, okay, how much money do these people have left over? And then you can take maybe 10% of what's left over, and that's how much you can charge. You can do even more, by the way, like I'm not saying this, if you have a lot of social proof, but I'm talking about the minimum here, okay? And so this becomes your criteria. Now, I want to make something very clear. If you're just at the start and your calendar is not completely full with sales calls, so I'm talking like really 8 to 10 sales calls every single day, then your qualification shouldn't be too harsh. If you're in this position right here, and you can actually do this, then you can say, okay, well, I'm only going to serve the top 20% of my market. You can do that. But if you have no clients, then this is just not worth it. You can't afford it because you need experience to get the data so that you can then filter your customers by this so that you know who gets the best results. You just don't know yet. Okay, so this right here is just a guideline. I'd recommend you just go with none at all. Talk to more people. And if your sales call, like if your calendar is full with sales calls every single day, then you can see, okay, well, which of these calls were the lowest quality? What did these people have in common? What did the best sales calls I have that were like very easygoing, very easy to talk to, and so on? What did they have in common? And then you write down that criteria, and suddenly you have a version of this that you can do. Okay? And so for handling these leads, you're going to have ICP1, which is green. Just going to make this green. All right. Let me also make this a bit bigger. You're going to have ICP1, which is essentially sales team plus high effort. All right. This is what you want to do. And then you're going to have ICP2, which is that middle category where you can either have sales team and low effort, or you can just have a self checkout, just to financially make sense, right? And then you're going to have no fit. And these ones you just disqualify. Simple as that. Now, if you have multiple offers, you could say, okay, well, can I make a low ticket offer where the bottom 80% of my market can get results?
And then you build a lower ticket offer that's cheap, where you can over time nurture people to become this ICP or this ICP ideally. Okay, lots of people do this. For example, we run a cold email lead generation agency. Okay, we get sales calls for companies, and engagements with us start at $3,000 per month. That's just it. Okay, and so we run the whole system. We do outbound cold email. We call every reply within 5 minutes. We have our internal sales team. We have a software that we built for all of this to basically get meetings, and we have a performance fee only showed in qualified call. That's when we get paid. And so this is what we do for other companies, right? And we have specific criteria for our ICP. For example, the total addressable market needs to be big enough so that we can do enough volume. Okay, their LTV needs to be at least $10,000 for it to be worth it for them to pay us. But then we thought, okay, well, we can also, because we know a lot about cold email, just make a bunch of content for completely free and have a school community where we teach all of this stuff. How do we run cold email? How to do appointment setting? How to like automate all of it with Claude and so on and so forth for the other market, that if we could run emails for them, we absolutely would, but we just can't economics wise. We don't have enough margins for that. So we decide, okay, how else can we help? Well, let's make the school community. That was our idea. We did that like a week ago. We have like 77 members now, 76. So by the way, that's the first link in the description if that's for you. If you want to learn all this stuff more in depth, how to do cold email, how to appointment setting. I've booked we sent 20 million emails, booked thousands of sales calls with all sorts of companies, like big names that you know. And that's free. But and this is how we structured it. And everyone can do this. You can have very high ticket offer for your top 20%. You can have normal, like medium tier offers for the middle, and you can have lower ticket offers for the bottom of your market. Okay? And so once you have this criteria, every time you get a lead in, you need to sort them and categorize them based on very clear yes or no criteria. What do I mean with this? If your checklist says for someone to be ICP1, for someone to be green, they need to make at least $20,000 a month. Random example. If someone is making $19,990, they are not your ICP1. They're in the second category. Okay? You need to be very strict with this, because the moment you start deviating from this is when everything gets messy. If you make a system, make it properly. Okay? There's 3 categories and they get put in the one they belong. And when you're like, yeah, but I feel like this could be a good... No. If you have criteria, that's the one you stick to. All right? And you need to make your criteria very binary. You can't qualify if it's based on how you feel. Oh, I didn't like how they look is not a qualification criteria. That just doesn't make any sense. Because for one sales rep, it might be one thing. For the other, it might be another. So if it's not black and white and every single person in your team knows exactly what is category 1, what is 2, what is not a fit, then it's not going to work. All right? So it's probably a high chance that you can take your qualification list and just shorten it by a lot, because you only need 3 to 4 criteria that if those are 100% true, binary, it's yes or no, there's no in between, that they will get good results. And then you can put your full attention with high effort in that ICP to make sure that they get the help they need, which is they buy your product because your service is great. If your product sucks, then that's the first thing you need to fix anyway. But that's about it. All right? So to summarize, you have 3 categories: no fit, medium fit, high fit. Okay? It's on a spectrum. You're going to categorize into 3 things. You're going to filter all your customers by who spent the most, who stayed the longest, complained the least, got the best results. Then take your top 20%, that becomes your very qualified list. You're going to take the middle one, that becomes your middle, and you're going to take the bottom, and that's your not qualified list. Okay? You have 2 ICPs, if not 1. For the first one, that's perfect fit. You have a sales team and high effort. You personalize everything. You actually have multiple calls, whatever you need to do. For the second one, you can also do sales calls, or you just do a self-checkout, and then you have a very clear criteria on who's just not a fit, and you're not afraid of letting them go because you know that you can just get more leads. I want to talk about the quality versus quantity paradox, which basically means, like I hear it all the time, you can either only do quality emails and then you can send a lot, or you can send a lot of emails, but then they will be spammy. And that's not entirely true if you do it right. And so I wrote down this matrix kind of thing to show you all the different options, right?
So you have quality and no quality, and you have low quantity and high quantity. So volume, right? How much you send. And the premise here is that if you do quality, then you will win, no matter if you do low or high quantity. But if you have shit quality, then you can't win, even if you send a lot of emails. Because let's say you have no quality and you're also not sending a lot of email, well, then I have bad news for you, but that's not really going to work. Like, what are you doing? Right? Literally, what are you doing? That doesn't make any sense. On the other hand, you have no quality, but you figured out a way to send thousands upon thousands of emails. But then what's going to happen is you're just going to burn the domains and you're going to land in spam. And the emails are going to be spammy because they have no quality. Then there's this thing of you have really, really high quality, but you can't really do a lot. And that's what people call Dream 100 outreach, where you basically find your Dream 100 accounts that you want to work with and you personalize the messaging just for them perfectly. This works, but again, you're not doing a lot of quantity, but you will still get results because the message have high quality. And then there's a combination of both. You can send a fuck ton of emails with high quality. So how do we do that? Well, we've sent over 20 million cold emails so far, way over that for a bunch of clients and ourselves. And we figured out a way to send quality emails at high scale. And here's the process that I'm going to walk you through. It has 3 steps. So first, how you build the list, then how you write the personalization, and then how you send all of this at scale. And so let's just go through this, right? So the first step within building the list, right, is you decide exactly who to email. So you need really good targeting. This is your ICP, right? You decide exactly who to email. So the job title, the industry, and size. And I wrote agree with the client because this is our internal workflow. Obviously, if you're doing this for yourself, just agree with yourself or something. I don't know. But have really good targeting because you need to know who you want to reach, because you can't personalize if you don't understand who it's for, right? Then you need to find the contacts. So you go on Google Maps or LinkedIn or bot databases like for paid tools, Apollo, stuff like that. We also have our own database of 800 million contacts that we also give to everyone in our school community, everyone who joins. So if you want that, we're currently finding a way to legally give this to you. So if you want that, it's pretty nice. But yeah, you're going to have to find these contacts. So you define who it is, and then you need to scrape them somewhere. And then you need to remove everyone who you've already emailed, obviously, because you don't want anyone to get the same pitch twice. And then you rank them by the best fit, and you kind of have 3 tiers, right? So you have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and the first tier ones are the best high quality ones, and those get emailed first, and then tier 2, and then tier 3, obviously. But you still end up emailing everyone. Once you have this score, you're going to check every address and check if it's real. So bad email addresses that aren't really valid, they're going to bounce. And if you have a high bounce rate, then you're going to get flagged. And that means you won't land in the primary inbox. So that means it doesn't matter what you write, no one will see your emails. So you got no results. In this, there will be some emails that are unclear whether they're actually real or not. So we have a second layer on this that saves addresses that we can't read. And then you drop the block companies because usually their security filter, even if the email is real, blocks cold emails. So you go through this step, and then you have a clean list of real and reachable people. Congrats. And so in real, these numbers might look something like this. So you have like 10,000 leads that you pulled from whatever database you used that fit your ICP. Then 7,400 were never emailed by us before. 4,800 actually fit we want by the tiers. Out of those 4,800, 3,900 are actually confirmed real email addresses that are like reachable. 500 are blocked or unreachable. And then you have 3,400 ready to send emails. See? So you have 10,000 that you pulled, but 3,400 actually, they fit wherever you want, they're high quality, and you can actually reach them. And by the way, you may think that why not just email everyone? Because there might be some prospects in there that we filtered out that would respond. Maybe. But 2/3 of this list were just trash. And cutting them just makes your deliverability better
which means you have more time for the good leads. So this is like a no-brainer. Actually do this. And by the way, bouncing, if in case you never heard this, the email just comes back undelivered because the address is not real. And if you have too many bounces, then your whole account gets treated as spam. So that's not good. That's why we want to filter this out. So as soon as you have this clean list of real and reachable people, the next step is to actually write the personalization. And this is where the tier system actually comes in. So you first decide how deep to actually go with the personalization. So the big accounts that are a perfect fit get a line each, and the lower tier ones just get like a line per segment, per group, personalized line. And then Claude or any AI writes the opening line, so you can actually do this. We have an AI copywriter, by the way, in the school community. So if you want to join that, first thing in the description. It's trained on 20 million cold emails. It's actually going to write up some pretty good scripts. At the start, like obviously AI without context can't really write, but because it was trained on all the winners of so many millions of emails, it actually works. Like you barely have to tweak anything. So we use this for us, for our clients. It just works amazingly well. And so Claude writes the opening line from every single person from something real about them. So it actually goes into the website, into the LinkedIn profile, and personalizes the first line. And I'm not talking about fake or these weird compliments where you just say, oh, I saw you posted about this and I think it's truly amazing. That's like this. I think it's truly amazing what you do. You've heard that before. I get this message like twice a day. It just never works because it's not a genuine like thing. So Claude is actually pretty good at this. And you insert this into a locked shape that you have, like a template. So you say, hi, first name, saw that you, and then you insert a real thing about them that Claude found. And then you have a second AI that is like a second skill we have in Claude that checks every line and deletes anything that we cannot actually prove. Because one AI might find something and make something up. We have a second one that double checks that. Because the last thing you want to do is send something that's not even true. And then what you do is you have every line in your prospect list, okay? So you have the rows with the people and the company and the email, and then you have the first line that's personalized in that table as well. And now what you're going to do is you're going to go through this list. And obviously, if you have 4,000 rows, you can't read every single line. But what you're going to do is go through the first one. If it's good, go to the second one. As soon as you find one error that you didn't like, you can just like use Whisper Flow or something, literally just comment on these lines. Do that 2-3 times and give it to Claude. And this rule will now apply as your taste to the entire list. So he's going to see where he made that mistake again, go through the entire list, fix it. And then you do the same process again. You pick 2 to 3 random lines. If you don't like something, comment. And you do this process a few times until wherever you click, the line sounds good. Obviously, you can't test every single one, but that's fine. If you do this a couple times, which doesn't take really long, like this takes 10 minutes to go through 5, 6, 7 iterations, then you're going to have a pretty good list. Like 98% of it is going to be pretty good. The few lines you will miss, that's just part of the game. All right? And so as soon as you do that, you have approved lines. You have one list of people who are real, who you can reach with a personalized line that actually makes sense. Right? So it looks something like this. You have name, company, you have the line you open with, and then you just have the status, for example. And once everything is approved, then it works. And so once you have these approved lines and you have real people that are reachable, we go to the third step, which is actually sending this, doing it at volume. So each line is attached to its person, and the email, kind of the structure, is a pre-written template where just the first line gets inserted. Okay? And then we have a backup line that covers any gap. Okay? So if for some reason at row 2980 you had some error, then we have this backup that just says hi first name. It's never going to say some random like things that don't really make sense. Like if you have a template but nothing was filled in, that just looks weird. We don't want that. And then the rest of the email is shared. Like this just means that the rest of the email is an actual template that's always the same for everyone. And you split this across many mailboxes, right? You have many inboxes and domains, so you don't actually land in spam. Deliverability is a whole different beast. By the way, if you want to learn how cold email works in depth, we have this whole cold email mastery course. We literally go into technical setup, prospecting, cold email scripting, launching campaigns, inbox management,
And everyone in the school also gets access to our response handling, appointment booking software where you can enrich phone numbers, have like reply templates so you actually reply to every lead within 5 minutes for maximum booking rates, a bunch of other features as well, and an insights tab that actually shows you your real-time data so you can make decisions off of that. But basically, you have inboxes and domains, and one inbox sends like 15 to 20 emails a day max, so you don't land in spam, and you just split this and you buy as many inboxes and domains as you need, and one domain has like 3 to 4 inboxes, right? And inbox just means whatever the name is before the at. So you have Sarah at domain and John at domain and so on and so forth. And then you send thousands of emails, and each one opens with a different line because they're all personalized. And you also have to check the numbers, which is what the dashboard is for in your sequencer and our app. So you actually see, okay, this has a high bounce rate, let me adjust. This whole cold email management is not really a topic, but you need to make sure to keep monitoring email campaigns, because if you don't do that, then over time, you'll just cook your domains and then nothing will land. Okay? And at the end of the day, you send a lot of emails with high quality, which is what we determined to be the best thing that you can really do. So you do high quantity and high quality at the same time. Okay, the email is going to look something like this. So you just say like quick question, and then you have the first line that is really simply written, and then you have the rest of the email, which is the same script for everyone. Okay, so if you want to send 600 emails a day, this is the inbox thing, you have 30 warmed up inboxes, you send 20 emails a day, that means 600 emails a day, which is still nothing, by the way. You should do way more than that. Like I'm talking 50,000 emails a day. It's actually possible. You should reach your entire target, like total addressable market every 30 days. That's how you disrupt a market. That's how you actually get every single lead interested. So, and if you just want to send more emails, then you literally repeat this whole process over and over again. So this is the whole thing. This is also what we teach in the school. Again, it's the first line in the description. We also have this whole course on appointment setting here where I say, like, tell you exactly how we get 80% booking rates from positive responses, including speed to lead, response handling templates, and calling scripts, follow-up cadences to actually book these people in, and the SOP you can do after the booking, so how to record a VSL, how to get 90% show-up rates, all of that stuff. We also have a weekly live call. The next one's happening in 3 days. And when you ask questions, we actually go through them and record personalized videos for you pretty much every day, so you get actual results. It has a free trial, so you can test all of this out before committing to anything. And even then, even if you commit and after 90 days you still don't like it, we have a full money back guarantee, no questions asked. It's not conditional or anything. It's literally just on satisfaction. I want to show you how we do cold email response handling for B2B software companies. I'm going to show you 7 response templates that you can use for video requests if you use like a video cold email strategy. Send more information, pricing questions, product fit questions, like is this actually right for me? Internal referrals, so hey, I'm not the right person, but talk to this person, she might be interested, something like that. Calendar requests or direct like demo requests, and competitor comparison. People asking you like, okay, but what makes you different from company? Right, and so I want to show you the templates and the reasoning behind those so that you can adjust this to yourself and use it to book more meetings. Anyway, so there are a few things these responses need to follow in order to be effective, all right? Let me just call this rules. And the thing is, no matter what you write, if you follow the rules, it's going to be good. And that's why I want to make this first before just giving you copy and paste scripts, because you need to learn how to adjust this to yourself. And so the number one thing is be human, all right? How do you text your friend? How do you text normal people? Well, you send them like a short 1 to 2 sentence message, maybe 3. You space it out nicely. It's very short and casual and to the point, right? You don't try to get cute. You don't try to get smart. You don't try to say more things just to sound professional. You just say what needs to be said. You cut every filler word and you're casual about it, right? So this is the number one rule. If you just decide to be human, then everything will work. And there's this thing, like some people say bar test, where like you read your copy and then if you couldn't say this to a person that you just met randomly at a bar or at some public place, and you just say it, like you hear how it sounds when you say it out loud, if that sounds weird, then it will also be weird written out. Because people think that writing in speaking are two different things. But if your writing doesn't sound like it is spoken casually, then it's not good enough. Second is get to the point. I know you want to have a nice message with all the possible information that people might need, but what do humans do? Well, I know your main goal is to book a meeting. And that's fine, and you can go towards that goal. But you don't need to give them like a full-on bullet point list and like a paragraph that explains your entire offer, what you're going to do on the call, what you're going to do here, what you're going to do there. Just keep it casual. We've tried a bunch of things. We had big messages that explained everything. We had really short ones. And there was always one pattern that won, which is be human and casual and get to the point. All right? Getting to the point, you'll see what that means in the scripts that I'm going to show you in a bit. Next is be fast, really fast. All right? That's the next rule. Booking rates within 5 minutes, so if you get speed to lead under 5 minutes, are like 3 times higher than if you wait an hour or longer. And so if you get speed to lead right and you like call, iMessage, email every single person within 5 minutes, you're just going to get more meetings. That's a fact. So be fast. All right, set up notifications in a way where you can immediately open up the lead and immediately respond. We've built an entire inbox, like master inbox app that is made just for this. That has a mobile app and a desktop app with templates so that you can reply instantly. You can click the template, personalize it to the person, send it out. All right, everything quickly. You get notifications on Slack, a mobile push notification, email notification with buttons that lead you directly to that lead. So you don't have to do anything. It's all very like operationalized so that we can have response handling times under 5 minutes, which just 4x our booking rate. Like this is such a easy, quick win because you don't have to change your scripts. You don't have to change anything. You're just fast, right? The best bookings happen when you just call 1 minute after someone responds positively to your email and you just talk to them. Every time I reached someone within like 2 minutes on the phone, they were surprised. They were like, they sounded happy because they couldn't comprehend the idea of they just replied to the email and you immediately call them. That's a really solid first impression. So you should definitely do this. And next is be persistent. All right. Some people might not respond to the first message, and that's fine. Just follow up and keep following up because everyone has a buying window. Okay. If you visualize the year with 12 months, all right, each month has 4 weeks. Everyone has buying windows in certain times of the year, and it's different for everyone else. For some companies, it's often end of year because then the new year starts and a lot of contracts but that's just like a general thing. Buying windows happen all the time because of all different sorts of reasons, all right? But all of your leads will have a different buying window where they're going to decide, which is why we send cold emails, for example, every month with a different angle until they respond or tell us to stop. Because there were times where we sent like 4 cold emails for 4 months. And they replied to the 4th one, even though it's the exact same email 4 times, because they didn't read the first 3. Or they did read it, but it was just the wrong time. By the next one, they already forgot who we are. And even if they didn't, it suddenly became relevant. And the same is with follow-up. A lot of people will also stall a decision, and then when their decision buying window comes, they're going to look at people. And when they see you've been following up for months and you're still there, they're most likely going to choose you instead of the person who randomly just happened to message them. All right? So be persistent. Keep following up and keep doing that until you get a clear yes or a clear no. But we don't like the maybes. And that's why follow-up, you want to get rid of that. All right? The only reason to follow up is to get a clear outcome. It's not to get a yes, not to get a no. It's to get a decision. That's why we follow up. Because if you get a clear no, that's a win. You can now stop allocating time towards that lead. Get a yes, that's also a win because of obvious reasons. So those are the rules. You be human, like casual. You get to the point. You be fast, like really fast. You're persistent. And the last one is keep it short, which is also be human and get to the point. But I just want to emphasize this because it's another rule. All right, just keep it short. 1, 2, 3 sentences, that's all you really need for a solid response. So now let's go into the actual templates. Let's say you send videos because this is like after millions of cold emails, one of the best converting cold emails is just a video outreach strategy where you say your offer in 1 sentence and you say, want a video showing how it works. People say yes all the time. You record a custom video for them. Done. And you see this response, which is very short to the point. Here's the video, dash, and then you just say how your business is called, video, and you hyperlink this right here. And then you ask a open question. All right, what niche software does your type of business use? Now here's where you're going to input whatever your software does. All right, what logistics software does your company use? What office management software does your company use? All right, what fleet management software does your trucking company use? So on and so forth. All right, and you'd be surprised how huge the response rates are to this. And so they're going to respond with something like, thanks, we use X. Okay, and this is specifically for if you're selling a software that integrates with some system that they're already using. Another open-ended question you could ask is, how are you currently handling issue? This is more generalized. If your software solves a specific problem, you just ask, how are you currently handling this? Or if you want to make it personalized, you say, how did you manage to get result that they mention on their website? Same thing. You go into the website, you see something they achieved. How did you manage to achieve that? Very simple. So these are open-ended questions that you do to get a response. All right. They're going to watch the video. If the video is really solid, and the video basically just follows like a framework of like showing them the most important feature first that people ask for, an outcome-oriented language, then showing some social proof, like back to back to back with slides or something, and then going more in depth on like 2 to 3 other features that more people care about, while saying this feature solves problem by doing this to get outcome. And then we have this feature who solves this problem using this feature and getting this outcome, and so on and so forth. And you just present 3 or 4 main things actually showing it, and you make that like personalized to them, or if that's too much effort, just personalized per like segment in your market that you have. And then you send that over to them. It's like a 3-4 minute video, because then they get an actual idea of how it looks like before committing to a whole 30-minute call. Your like goal is still to book a demo, which is why after they say thanks, we use or do XYZ, right? You're gonna say, and then you say something like, sound good, I'd be available this week for a quick demo so I can show you how the setup would look like for you. And then you just say, when's a good time? Very open, right? You can also say, to make life easier, here's my calendar link, something like that. But it's conversational. And what you need to try to get away from is trying to do everything in one email, because you're afraid of losing the lead if you just send multiple emails back and forth. But that doesn't happen, because it's much easier to commit to an email conversation than to commit to a whole 30-45 minute demo. But at this point, they saw the video, you had a conversation, they told you what they use, which there's already commitment there. And then you can even say something more personalized and just sounds good. Like, hey, a lot of our clients, like this person, also use that. Or some insider about the thing they said that's industry-specific knowledge that I can't give you because I don't know what you're selling. But just like a one short sentence that's just personalized to them. Like, don't just, sounds good as a very generic response. You can personalize this to whatever they said, so it actually feels conversational. And the rest can basically stay the same. All right, so this is how you can book someone from a video request. Now, send information is very similar in terms of like it's the same as send video, but I just want to give you another variation, another script you may use. If people request information, if you actually have a video that you can send them, that works even better. So this is basically the same thing. Then you ask an open-ended question like, what software does your type of business use for this part? How are you currently handling this? How did you manage to get this result? Happy to set up a few minutes to answer any questions you may have. Thanks. All right. The only difference between this and the other one is that here we don't even mention anything of a call. We just leave it extremely short. This is just a 2-sentence response. Here we just add this extra sentence, which sometimes works quite nice. You can just use whatever you prefer. That's why I wanted to give you a few options. Have to set up a few minutes to answer any questions you may have. Thanks. They're going to say, sure, I have time. Here's my phone number. Something like that, right? You make it easy for them. And I want to make something clear. These are templates, but I strongly urge you to, obviously, if you handle like tons of volume, you can like make templates out of this. But if you're getting like under 20 leads a day from like cold email, then just type these out by hand for whatever feels right, just following these rules I mentioned. Literally, that's all you need to do. If you follow these rules, then So be human, get to the point, be fast, persistent, and keep it short. If you do these things, any response is going to be good. So you just write something and make sure it matches all those rules. Simple as that. It's the simplest thing I can give you, because a template is a template, but if you learn the framework, you can do this forever. All right. Next, pricing question. This is a big one. I get this asked all the time in the school community, and a bunch of people struggle with this. Now, the thing is, if we give them like a full-on pricing without adding value to it, then the likelihood that they're going to buy is not really high. So it's better to give people pricing on an actual sales call, on a demo. That's why we want to book the call. A few variants here. So first you say, "Hi, John, would love to show you how a company works and talk about the cost. Would you be open for a quick demo?" Here, we just sidestep the question. This is the easiest way to handle these. You literally just say, "Yeah, happy to give you that. Let's get on a demo." Because you think just because they say, "Hey, yeah, please give me some info and how much this costs," that they want to get that right away per email. And yes, obviously that would be more convenient for them, but that would kill our sales process, which is why we just sidestep the objection, which, by the way, also works in sales calls, but that's not the topic for this video. So you literally just say, "Hi, John, love to show you how this works and talk about the cost. Would you be open for a quick demo?" And then either they say, "Yeah, sure," or they say, "Yeah, I need to know the cost first." And so another response that you could use, or like even if after this they say, "No, I need to know the pricing," or just as the initial response, you can say, "Since every type of business that you're talking to is different, we usually discuss pricing on the demo. Do you have some time next week for a quick call? I can show you the platform and then talk about pricing." Simple as that. And then another variant where, like, if you really want to just give them a pricing, you keep it casual. You don't make it exact, but you give them a ballpark, right? So you say it's a couple $100 a month. If we just set up a couple of minutes to chat using this link and you just hyperlink, like your booking link, I'd be happy to give you a more formal quote and walk you through how it works. Pretty much everyone's going to say yes. So it's because you gave them some sort of answer and you set up, "Hey, like, here's a link. It's extremely convenient and I can give you a more formal thing," which is what they want. So you can use these three like in a sequence, or you can just use one of these right away, see what happens, test it according to your market. All right. That's the same thing. You can take the principles and the frameworks out of this and just apply it to like things you can just write on your own when you actually get the response personalized to the prospect. All right. The next one is if we get like a product fit question where people are just not sure if you've actually done it for them, because everyone thinks they're special, even though it mostly works for everyone. This happens in every industry. So they say something like, "Do you have any existing niche clients? If so, please share information specifically related to this niche." And this niche is going to be whatever they are, usually. All right. To which you can respond in a very simple and straightforward way. If we take the rules, we get to the point really fast, and we keep it short and human. We just say, "Hey, John, we do work with a niche." And then you ask an open question. "Thanks." And when I say open question, I mean the ones we covered earlier. Like some sort of, "How are you currently handling this? How do you manage to get this result? What software does your type of business use?" Something like that, right? So, "Hi, John, we do work with niche. How are you currently dealing with issue? Thanks." Very simple. This is a human response. Like, this is not salesy at all. This is why it works. Internal referral just means like they say, "Yeah, I'm not the right person, but this might be interesting for this person." A lot of people overcomplicate this, forward emails, do this, do that. You can just call up the person and then leave a voicemail, which works very great. And you mention the person who referred you. Even though maybe this isn't a direct like referral, this person is perfectly interested and let's do this. It's like you still mention someone in their company, which is why it immediately feels personalized. Okay? You can just say to the referrer, "My team left a message for John this afternoon. Feel free to send over John's email if you don't have it already. We'd be happy to coordinate a time to chat with her for a few minutes," or him, whatever, "and learn more about the business." Again, very simple. And for John specifically, you just send him an email, say, "Hey, Sarah told me that this might be relevant for you," and then you just send the original cold email that you sent with the offer and an ask. All right? And then whatever John responds, you're going to take one of these scripts. For calendar request, literally just send the link. "Here's a time to book a demo with me," and then you say your name there and you hyperlink it. Simple as that. Okay? And then we have competitor comparison, which is what a lot of people also struggle with. Here again, a lot of people overcomplicate this and they try to like get smart and get cute and say like without insulting the competition, which you shouldn't do and you don't have to. Like, how can we say that we're better without saying what we're better at? Just be human and get to the point. If someone asks you, what's the main difference between you and your competitor? You just tell them, we have this benefit and this benefit. You don't even say, we have these benefits that they don't have. You just say, we have this and this, which should be relevant to what they want. Like, you can keep this short as possible. Here's a quick video on business. Like, you insert your business name here. Here's a quick video. Here's a link to schedule a demo to learn more. Give them 2 links and the benefit. Straightforward answer. And so sending these responses got us 80+% booking rates on all leads if you follow these rules in all sorts of industries with all sorts of companies, no matter how small or big, because people like to talk to humans who get to the point, who are fast, persistent, and keep the messages short so it's easy to respond to and easy to read. How your message looks also matters. If you send me a paragraph, you could send me the same text but broken up into multiple sections, and I would be more likely to read it. And that's why 1-2 sentence responses work really well. As soon as they respond to that, you find the next natural thing and just get them on a demo occasionally. All right? Eventually, you will get them on the demo, but you don't need to do it right away. And that's the main point. This is how you do proper cold email response handling. I just want to show you the best cold calling script that we found that works pretty well. And I'm going to give you 3 variations as well for the opener, just so you can test this out. Some of you might have no social proof, some with social proof, and another one that has worked pretty well. So I just wanted to cover all. And without further ado, I just get straight in. In general, the goal of a cold call is to book someone on a meeting and to qualify them. Right? Now, qualification criteria is different for every company, but I'll show you a bunch of questions that you can ask down here that you can just copy and paste. And by the way, if you want the script, that's the 3rd link, I believe. It will be in the description. You can just download this script with all the questions and all of this stuff, so you can adjust it to yourself. It's completely free, so that's in the description as well. But yeah, essentially, let's start with the first opener, because this is the first thing you say. Hey John, it's Leon calling from company. How's it going? Simple, right? Now, what a lot of people do is they ask for a minute or so. That stuff works. In some cases, I wouldn't get too autistic about it, right? Like, don't ask like, do you have 31 seconds, or do you want to throw your phone out the window? Sure, that's gonna get someone's attention. If you maybe sell to people who are in sales, then they might appreciate that. I've honestly seen the best success over all the thousands of cold calls with just a simple question that asks, how's it going? Because this is human, all right? People buy from people they like, which means the more human you make yourself, the better it will work. It's a simple question. It starts a conversation. Everyone's going to say, I'm good. How are you? Or I'm good. What do you want? Or just something. But no one will immediately hang up. And so at this point, you start the conversation. And I prepared these 3 openers that I'm going to show you. So they're all very straight to the point with placeholders, so you can just input this for yourself. So let's say you have no social proof at all. You just say, yeah, I'm doing good. Awesome. We help type of business you sell to, so the type of business that you're talking to right now, and you just name their industry, literally. If you're talking to a software business, you're going to say, we help software businesses, right? If you talk to a manufacturing business, you say, we help manufacturing, and you get very specific as to who you're talking to, because there's lots of types of manufacturing businesses. For example, there's lots of types of software businesses. You don't just say local business, you say plumbers or detailers or whatever, right? Like, you want to get specific here, because this means whatever you say after is just for them. And that's why we say this immediately, because relevance beats personalization, right? In cold email and cold call in DMs, you don't need to tell these people what school they went to, and you don't need to research them for an hour just to find some social media post they like. You just need to be relevant. And this is the first sign of relevance, because you specialize in one industry. So you say, we help industry get this result using mechanism. Worth a quick chat? Boom. These people will appreciate you because you get straight to the point. This is why this stuff works, all right? Now, for result, you say the literal dream outcome of your offer. So whatever you sell, it solves a problem, hopefully. If it doesn't, then you need to fix that first before you do any outbound. But the result someone gets once they implement your software, what is that? All right, time saved, money made, appointments booked. whatever, right? Get specific, then use the language of the industry that you're talking to. This is extremely important, to use the language of your industry, because these people will resonate with you more, which means they're more likely to listen to you. And then using mechanism just makes this whole thing believable, because your offer is not just an outcome, it's also perceived likelihood of achievement, which means how competent are you, and how much can I trust you that I will actually get that result. Okay? This is why we say the mechanism. Now, I don't want you to list out every feature you have here. This should be 3 words max, right? Like, you literally say how you do this in as simple words as possible. Okay? If you automate something, then just say, we'll get you this results by automating X. 1 word. All right? Or you say by analyzing X, so you get Y. Right? You need to implement the mechanism as well as the result in as simple words as possible, meaning in a way that like 12-year-old would understand it. 6th grade reading level. Everything just works better, because you can't assume that people know your like jargon that you use internally. That just doesn't make any sense. Keep your language simple, to the point, and human. This also applies to every form of outbound, by the way, not just cold calling. People know this a lot for a cold email, and then they just think like, okay, well, if I'm in a call, then I can just say more stuff. You don't need to say more stuff. All right? Treat this as if it was a cold email. You need to grab attention immediately. Like you say, we help industry get result using mechanism. Worth a quick chat? You go up in tonality at the end. So again, tonality is very simple. Just speak loud and clear, and go up when there's a question mark, which you already do, because that's how humans talk. That's it. All right? And then they're going to say yes or no. Now, I'll get into what you say there in a second. Let's say you do have social proof, or you just want another variant. You can say, right, you say, how's it going? Yeah, good. How are you? Well, doing good. Awesome. Reaching out because we recently got this client of ours, this result, in just 30 days, and I'm confident we could do the same for you. With a quick chat. Again, now you actually name the client. This works better, by the way, than no social proof. Obviously, like obvious reasons why. Because you need to prove that you're an expert worth listening to. The whole thing about cold calling is proving authority in like seconds. That's the whole secret. And so you naming a client, keeping it short and to the point, like this is just another casual conversation, that's going to signal what you want it to signal, right? And then you say quantified result. So you don't just, ideally you say how much money you made them, how many calls you booked them, how much time you saved them, and so on and so forth, right? Like an actual, put a number in it. But be sure it's a number they understand, all right? Keep it simple. Reaching out because we recently got client, this result in time frame. Time frame doesn't make sense for you, just leave it out. It just makes it more believable, which is the whole perceived likelihood of achievement. It's the same as saying the mechanism, right? Maybe if you don't want to say time frame, you say how you did it. Works the same way. You can interlink these, and that's why I wanted to give you frameworks so you understand why this works, so you can just do your own stuff, right? So in time frame or using mechanism or both, if you really want it, like in 30 days using, whatever you use. And I'm confident we could do the same for you. Worth a quick chat? Easy. This works insanely well. All right? And then another thing I've learned works pretty well. It's called a bucket question, where you basically name like 2-3 problems and you try to catch a wide net of problems. This is especially cool if you solve multiple problems and you don't really know yet which of these are most relevant for your prospect, or if you actually look at it, it's like an equal split between 2 problems, so you don't want to just choose one, you want to solve multiple. Say, how's it going? Yeah, doing good. How are you? Doing good, thanks. I recently spoke to a CFO in your industry, and he told me he's dealing with this problem and this other problem pretty often. Is that similar to you, or is the outcome already working perfectly well for you? Now, this has multiple parts. Let's go into it. So, I recently spoke to a CFO. I said CFO as an example. Really, you say their title. All right? Whoever you're speaking to, their title. If you don't know it, leave this part out. Or just say, someone who manages X, which is the thing you solve, right? In industry, so this is immediately relevant to them. First 5 words. All right? I recently spoke to the title in industry. So they think, oh, that is the title I have, and that's the industry I am in, so this must be relevant. And then he spoke to another person just like me, working in the same industry as me, And he told me, so that means he's talking to multiple people already. You can even say, I recently spoke to 5 CFOs in industry. And then the more recent you make it, if you can go specific on this, you say, last week I spoke to 7 title in industry, and they all told me that they're dealing with problem 1, 2, and 3. And you just name the problem. And then you say, is that similar to you? Which is an open-ended question. It doesn't attack them directly. They don't have to admit, yeah, I'm full of problems. Is that similar to you? Or, and then you give them a extreme that is extremely hard to say yes to. Or is outcome, which is like, let's say they solve these problems, what do they get? Already working perfectly well for you. This perfectly well does a lot because nothing works perfectly well. So they don't have an incentive to say, yeah, everything's perfect. Some people obviously will. Like, we don't have 100% conversion rate here. But a lot of people will say either, yeah, I'm dealing with this problem, or they're going to say, I'm dealing with all problems, or they're going to say, yeah, I mean, it's not working perfectly well. And then you can build on that. You can say, like, okay, when you say it doesn't work perfectly well, what would you like to fix first? Boom. And that's like the things you can say. Now, let's say they just say no, like nothing's relevant, because you'll have people. You can like don't chase these people too long. You can just ask like, yeah, I get it, wrong timing and just not a good fit. Don't like make this longer than it needs to be. These people are on the verge of hanging up on you. If you can get this out, you maybe get a chance. I've booked some nice meetings because they immediately said no because they just didn't like it. Like it was bad timing. And instead of just saying, yeah, okay, have a nice day, I asked, yeah, wrong timing or just not a good fit. This comes out in seconds, right? Like this comes out before they hang up, which is why you need to keep this short. And then if it's wrong timing, you literally just sidestep this objection. You say, no worries, I can call back tomorrow at 2 p.m. That works? Suggested time, right? Don't ask them, when can I call back? They're going to say, never, I'll reach back out. Just say, I'll call back tomorrow too. That works? Sure. You call back the next day, you say the exact same thing again, and just say, awesome, I called you yesterday, and then you repeat the pitch, and you just repeat from the beginning. It's very simple. If it's a bad fit, like they just think like this is not a thing for them, you say, makes sense, sounds like you actually care who you work with. What would make this a good fit for you? Because maybe they want a feature or they've been burned before, and you actually do that, but you didn't convey that in the pitch because obviously you have limited time. So here you give them the opportunity to actually respond to you and say what they need. And then you can say, well, we actually do that. Boom. And you're back in it again. All right. As soon as you handled these and you moved on, you steer the conversation to go here. Or if they say, yeah, I'm dealing with the problem, then you just say, how are you currently dealing with that? Like, what are you currently doing to solve X? Because you want to learn what they've already done. Because that increases pain, and pain is a requirement to sell and for people to take action. Imagine you light a fire under someone. That's essentially what you're doing with this question. They're going to run up and they're going to run towards a sales call. So this is why you do this. All right. If they answer, whatever they answer, you say, yeah, I hear that a lot, which again proves your expertise. Mind if I share some thoughts? You get another step of like permission just as an expert. Every word in here is carefully chosen, right? And it's very short. Yet you still say everything you need to say. Everyone is going to say yes. Never had someone say no here. Like of thousands of calls, no one says no. Say, great. Well, we speak to a lot of their type of business, right? Again, you repeat this. And they always tell us that problem XYZ is a huge headache. And here you just name the problem that they literally told you they have. We fix that by simply, and then you input like a 1 to 2 sentence pitch. Ideally, you keep it very simple. We fix that by simply doing this, so we can do this, and that's why it works. To avoid consequences, and here you just input like a very short like wording of what happens if they don't solve the problem. What's the deeper layer, right? Let's say they don't solve the problem for another 2 years, what would happen? That's what you input here. They're going to know because they think about this all the time. I need to solve this or X, right? And you just remind them of that to, again, increase the pain. So we fix that by simply expert insight to avoid the consequences. And this exact thing has worked for 50 clients so far. You following me so far, right? Are you following me? You can keep it shorter so you don't say so far twice. That's easy, right? So again, you confirm your expertise. You say that everyone has this problem. You fix that problem using an expert insight to avoid those consequences. And your fix has already worked for however many clients you have so far. And then you ask, you following me? Indicating that there's more to come, so they're curious what the next step is. But the next step is just booking the meeting. If they say no, then you just answer the question they have, and after every answer, you say, does that make sense? If they say no, you answer their question again, you give them all the info they need, right? This you can't really script. As soon as they say, yeah, that makes sense, you say, great. Well, I'd love to show you how the setup would look like for you specifically, and have AE name, right? Or if you close, just say you, right? And have John answer more specific questions. You got time later today at 4 or tomorrow at 10 or 11 a.m.? You suggest times for today or tomorrow. That helps with show rates and close rates. Just book same day appointments, right? And you suggest them times to easily say yes to them. And this is how you book meetings. All right? So, industry, you say that you fix a problem. You say that you fix it for many others to avoid these consequences using your expert insight. And you say that this has worked for people like them already. You following me? Yeah? Great. Well, I'd love to show you how this would look like for you specifically. This just works every time. As soon as you get to this process, you book it almost every time. The only place you lose people is just immediate hangups right here, which is completely normal, right? And then let's say you want to qualify these leads. I've prepared some questions you can ask based on the framework you're using, and you can just input these into the conversation before you book the meeting, right? So when they say, yeah, that makes sense, you can ask your questions and then end it with this. And so to define qualification, it just means that you increase the likelihood that someone will buy while investing as little time as possible into making that happen. That's my definition of qualification, right? And so there are two frameworks. You have BANT, B-A-N-T, and you have SPICED, right? And these two frameworks, which mean budget, authority, need, and timing, means can they afford your stuff? Can they make the decision to buy your stuff? Do they actually need what you're selling? Will it benefit them? And do they need your stuff in a reasonable time frame? And reasonable just means your average sales cycle time. Okay? This is good if you're selling to small businesses or single decision makers in a very transactional software sales. It's not good if you have multiple complex deals with multiple stakeholders because a lot of context goes missing. All right. For that, you have the SPICE framework. That just means situation, pain, impact, critical event, decision. Situation means what are they doing right now? What problems are they facing with their current situation? What happens if the problems go unsolved? The last time this actually happened, or example of actual real life problems in their language. And who makes the decisions? What are the criteria needed to make a decision, / any non-negotiables they have? Who needs to be involved, and what's important for each individual? This is good for software businesses that sell to mid-market or enterprise companies, have multiple stakeholders and longer sales cycles, and you have multiple AEs, solutions engineers, stuff like that. And it's not good if you just have simple transactional deals because you don't need this much context. All right, you just do one call closes. Now, to find this, just interview all your customers, find out who spent the most, stayed the longest, and complained the least, and then sort them by the top 20%. That should be your ICP. That's who you want to filter by. It doesn't mean you can't sell to the other ones too, but these become the priority. Now, questions you can ask are simply, and you can apply these to BANT as well, by the way, so that's why I just kept this here. For a situation, how are you currently dealing with X? I often hear ICP deal with common problem a lot. How do you deal with this? And you're probably also using current process, right? And you will name the software that they're already using because you're an expert in that field. You should know that. What else do you use to deal with other problems, for example? Interesting. What else? And you can always ask interesting what else, by the way. In any scenario, just say interesting. What else? What else? What else? And you just keep saying that to go deeper, right? And using this, you will find out their exact situation, which means what are they doing right now? Then you want to find out the pain. Now, how's that going for you? Easy. What have you tried in the past to fix this? How long have you been trying to fix this? How did that go? What else have you tried? By the way, you can just cycle through these infinitely. What have you tried? How long? How did that go? What else? Okay, how did that go? Simple as that. And you manage to deal with this every day? Wow, I'm impressed. And if you could change one thing right now, what would it be? This also works. Now you know what problems they're facing with their current situation. For impact, what happens if you don't solve this? What you feel like happens if you don't solve this? What would other person feel if this continues for let's say 12 months from now? And you include the other person that they named that also helps them with this work. How would that affect other departments? If you're trying to go up in the company and you want to reach the C-level that actually holds multiple departments, you asking this question makes it relevant for them suddenly and not just the manager. Let's look at this from another perspective. Do you think this also affects X? maybe something they didn't think of before. Again, you increase the impact, you increase the pain, because that increases the gap between where they are and where they want to be, which means you can charge more money. All right? And they will close more. Critical event. Can you give me an example for a problem they mentioned? Right? Really? When was the last time that happened? Okay, how'd you deal with that at that time? Is there anything coming up soon where this topic could be relevant? There you get actual events in real time that you can remind them of later to get to the close. And decision, which you can, by the way, ask after you book the meeting. I really suggest this. This is called multi-threading. You just get multiple people on there. Let's say you want this, like, to get this going as fast as possible. Who else needs to be involved? Okay, who would feel left out in our meeting? Another variation. Should I also invite other person you've researched before? Let's say you just know who already you want to be there. You just literally name them. What would be the most important non-negotiables for you? What would be important to that other person? And you ask this for every person who plans to attend, so you can tailor it to all of them. And so again, you can ask these questions right before you book the meeting or for decision after you already booked it, just to increase your close rates, have multiple stakeholders on the first one. But this is a script we've used to book like big companies, small businesses, mid-market. It always works. Again, if you want this whole script with the questions, just click the link in the description. It's literally free, takes 10 seconds to get. I'll just send it to your email. If you don't want to worry with any of this, you can just have us do it for you. So you click the first link in the description. And again, we can run our whole outbound system for you to get your sales demos for your software business directly on your calendar. You only pay us per book call. It has all the information here. And if you just want to learn from us with weekly consulting calls, and we also record custom videos every day for questions we get in here, you can just join the school community with a free trial. It's specifically made for software businesses as well. I wanted to show you how I would run outbound for Salesforce with cold email specifically, because I just had an idea for a few interesting campaigns, came up with some scripts that we'd use, a follow-up sequence, a response handling process, and I just wanted to quickly go through this with an example offer that we could run for the sales CRM side of Salesforce. And so I broke this into 5 steps. So the offer, what market we target, the scripts, the reply handling, so what we'd actually do once we get replies, and all the follow-ups in case we don't get replies, to basically book sales calls that are qualified for Salesforce. And just to be clear, I'm not affiliated with Salesforce. I don't work with Salesforce. This is just an example what I would do in their case. And maybe something that you can take value from if you have your own software business, because it's all pretty similar if we look at foundational stuff. So yeah, let's start with the offer right away. So first of all, they have a 30-day free trial from what I saw. And that's a good offer in and of itself, but I wanted to make something like a little more different because I thought of the objections that people could have to a free trial. And so the market that we're going to target is, on the one side, people who have no CRM at all, which is usually going to be smaller ticket sizes. And then I also thought about a competitor campaign for people who are using HubSpot, which is one of their biggest competitors, and a campaign to get them to switch, essentially. And when you switch, well, when you're considering a switch, a free trial is nice, and that can certainly be done, but you care more about how much time this is going to take to migrate. Okay, and so the offer that we came up with is the free 5-day pipeline build. So I split this into like dream outcome, what do they actually want? The time frame, which should be as low as possible. The effort and sacrifice, how much time does it take from them, which also should be as low as possible. And perceived likelihood of achievement, which should be as high as possible. All right. And so perceived likelihood of achievement just means how much trust someone has in your company. Since Salesforce is one of the biggest companies in software in the world, and they're pretty, especially in the space that they will be selling to, everyone knows who they are. So this part doesn't really need to be that strong, but especially for someone who wants to switch from, let's say, HubSpot or another CRM, the other points, especially for time frame and effort and sacrifice, are extremely important because it should happen as fast as possible, as easy as possible, without losing any important data. And so the outcome is that the reps are working live deals in Salesforce. That's the end outcome. So all the stage, the fields, the data is imported, deduped, the reports are there, email calendar synced, the reps are already trained on it pretty quickly. It's easy to use. Everything, the workflow doesn't change. We just have the thing that you didn't have in your CRM, which is the reason you switch. All right, which is going to be a bit different for everyone, but that's the dream outcome, that you switch successfully. And switching successfully doesn't just mean having a login, it means the reps can actually use it. All right, that's the main difference. The time frame in this offer is going to be 5 business days from the call. So the free 30 days are still there, and they can still start once the data is already migrated. So the trial doesn't burn, and while the CRM just sits empty, because that's what happens. You get a free trial, and then you sit there, you're like, what do I do now?
We need to hire a Salesforce administrator and all this stuff, which is a whole job function in itself in other businesses.
Effort and sacrifice, it's one 30-minute call, one export. You make this as easy as possible. You export all the data from HubSpot, you show them how to do that, or you do it for them if they give you access, and then you import it all into your platform. All right? They don't need to do anything. No hire, nothing. You do it for them. That's why it gets value, right? And then perceived likelihood of achievement is they just watch it get built on their own data, so they see their own deals are in there before they need to decide anything. You build it, and then you give them a free trial to use the CRM for free with their data in it, not with sample data, with their actual data, which is the highest perceived likelihood of achieving the dream outcome that you can give, plus all the social proof and like brand authority that Salesforce has on its own already. All right. And then we have the market, which is the next step. So obviously we want to send cold emails, and we want to do this at high scale because the market is big. All right. And we have 2 segments for 2 campaigns I wanted to cover here. First, people who are on HubSpot, and then people who have no CRM at all. Now, people with no CRM at all are basically unlimited. So we're just going to take a part of that like total addressable market because it's huge and there's not really a public like ceiling I can find. So we're just going to take 100,000 companies, which means 1 contact per company, by the way. And then HubSpot, all of it, every customer, around 300,000 people or companies. To do this, because we send like 15 to 20 emails per inbox that we buy, and there's like 3 inboxes per domain, for the HubSpot campaign, we need around 954 inboxes with 318 domains, and for the other segment, 318 with 106 domains, to be able to reach the entire total addressable market every 30 days on a repeat cycle. Because this is how you dominate the market, which is what Salesforce would likely want to do. And so this is the market. We have the side for HubSpot, and we have the side with no CRM, where we just take 100,000. So we send 400,000 contacts, which is 800,000 emails per month to the market. Which, if we say that we send 800,000 emails per month with an average client lifetime value of $10,000, which is quite low for this, but let's be conservative, a close rate from the meetings of about 15%. They get 4,000 replies, 600 positive, 240 meetings booked, 25 deals closed. So about a 3.5x ROI if we run the email campaigns, which are with conservative assumptions, by the way. We get probably double of these numbers. So we get like 2% reply rates and 20% positive. And we book 80, not 40, without having a strong brand. Like we use this, we do this for all types of softwares, which nobody knows, right? Definitely not as famous as Salesforce. So these numbers will be way higher anyway. But yeah, that's around what they would get from 800,000 emails a month. Now let's look at the actual scripts that we prepared. And I took a look at one of the a few most common objections that I think would come up for someone in either segment, right? And these scripts already answer what they think about Salesforce. So this is assuming they already know it, which is fine in this case. So, for example, a lot of people think that Salesforce is just extremely expensive. So you'd say quick question or question as a subject line. That just worked best. We sent like 20 million cold emails. That was always the best subject line. Just something simple, right? And then you say, hey, first name, think Salesforce too expensive for a team your size. This is the whole email, by the way. It's a 1-sentence email. And then if they reply, which some of them are going to do, then you're going to say, most people picture enterprise price. This is a small team version that starts at today's list price per user and a free tier under it. We also built the whole thing for you in 5 days at no cost, so you can see your own deals in it before you decide anything. Want the numbers or want a small video showing how it works. Something, right? Some easy to use CTA. This is it. 1-line emails, by the way, perform incredibly well. So this is why this works as an open question. Next. Needs an admin. I've seen this in companies we've worked with. They had like 2-3 people hired just to do Salesforce administration. Same thing. You just ask the question. Once they answer, then you send a reply that's actually like personalized. And then you have the offer. We also built the whole thing in 5 days at no cost without you needing to do anything. So you can see how it works. Want the small team numbers.
Want a video showing how, blah, blah, blah. You see the thing.
Too big for us, right? Salesforce is too big for what we do. 25 people. Hey, first name. Do you assume Salesforce is built for companies 10 times your size? The version for 25-person sales team gets built in 5 days and it costs nothing to look at your stages, your fields, your deals imported. 1 to 3 minute video. Banger offer, all right? This is for people who think that Salesforce is too big. And because we reach the entire total addressable market every 30 days, we can test all of these scripts, all these different angles to catch the most percentage of the total addressable market. Because some people might get this email, but they don't have this objection, so they're going to ignore it. 30 days later, they get another email with this until they respond, right? Takes 6 months. Same thing with the effort and sacrifice. It just takes a lot of time. Subject line is just 5 days. That's literally it. Hey, first name. You've probably heard Salesforce takes 6 months to roll out. We build small sales teams, a working pipeline in 5 days for free. Thought this might be relevant. Worth a quick chat before committing time. Or same video CTA. To swap the CTAs out. It's always the same. Then, who are the teams that are on HubSpot? All right. Here you can have this 2-step thing again. So you literally just ask a 1-line question and then respond if they reply. So are you still on HubSpot for the pipeline? Simple question. Good to know. 2 things usually by the renewal, seat count, and the contact tiers. We move you across for free. Your deals, your history, and your notes come with you. Both systems run side by side for 30 days, so nothing breaks. Want the migration plan for your team, your size. 3 deliverable, works nice. Next, renewal. Subject line is literally just renewal. Everyone's going to click on this. Hey, first name. Did your HubSpot renewal come in higher than you expected? If so, we move you across for free. Your deals, your history, and your notes come with you, and both systems run side by side for 30 days so nothing breaks. 1 to 3 minute video of the migration. Awesome script. And also, like, you can offer buyouts for contracts. Usually these companies have like longer year contracts, so they could offer people on HubSpot a buyout and just say, hey, get a discount for your first year of like 80% if you just cancel your contract now. Right? So they don't get a double cost, but you still gain them as a customer. Providing they actually get value from the product, they're going to stay way longer than that, and you're going to get a return on your investment anyway. When you talked about like customer acquisition cost, because it's going to be quite high if you do a buyout, but that's fine for a bigger contract, right? Then we have the month-end spreadsheet. So you just say forecast. Hey, first name. Are you exporting to a spreadsheet to build your forecast, which a lot of people do? There's also software like Cluster and stuff like that, which people use, but a lot of people are still on spreadsheets and like manual presentations and stuff. So are you doing this? If so, we rebuild your reporting for free, same stages, same data, and 1 30-minute call from you. Mind if I send a short video of how it works? Super nice. Seats nobody uses, happens like all the time. So this is a great offer. Seats, hey, first name, are you paying for HubSpot seats nobody logs into? Everyone's going to say yes. See how these always start with a relevant question? They're actually real life scenarios that people are dealing with every day. That's why it works so well. If so, we move you across for free and set up only the seats you use, your deals, and your history come with you. Want the numbers for a team your size. And then we go into the campaigns for teams with no CRM at all, so under 50 staff, has sales team, no CRM, typed it, or they have a small one, right? Same quick question. Hey, first name, if we built your whole sales pipeline in Salesforce for you in 5 days for free with your own deals already in it, would you be open to a 50-minute call? 1 sentence email, super nice script. I would run this, honestly. Objection, the PS statement, right? Same quick question, without even saying the introduction. If we set up a working pipeline for a company and you just insert their company for free with your real deals in it, would you want to look? PS, there's a small team version of Salesforce. It's nothing like the one you are picturing. Very nice because it's leaning on the objection that people have immediately, right? I know a ton of people who think this, like this is the first thought. Salesforce? No, that's for big companies. And so answering the objection right away is going to be huge. Next one, 5 days. Hey, first name, we built small sales teams of working pipeline in Salesforce in 5 days, and it costs nothing. Your stages, fields, and your deals imported. Thought this might be relevant, worth a quick chat before committing time. This is the same one we had before. It's just straight offer drop, right? And then we have this spreadsheet thing. Hey, first name, looked you guys up. We built sales teams of working pipeline in 5 days for free and get you off the spreadsheet. Is that something you're looking at this quarter? All right. And don't send this from a sales address. Just do it from a real person. Because otherwise this looked you guys up doesn't really make any sense. All right, so that's what we're going to send. These are the 3 campaigns. So we have one that works for all. We have one for teams on HubSpot and one for teams with no CRM at all. that Salesforce could use. Now, what do we actually do when someone replies positively? That's the next step. Well, we have our response handling system that gets us like 70, 80+% booking rates from the leads, like positive responses. Also works on inbound, by the way. There it's way higher. But essentially, we double dial, so we call them back to back within 5 minutes. And the speed to lead here is extremely important, right? If you like respond after an hour or after a day, the booking rates drop to like 20, 30%, which is like the industry average. If you do it within 15 minutes, ideally 5, then first of all, you leave a darn good impression. And the other thing is your booking rates are just way higher. So actually do this, all right? So you double dial because that just breaks the do not disturb mode and the pickup rates are higher. And then you send an iMessage. Ideally, I forgot to put this in step 1. You send the iMessage first and you just say who you are. Because then on the iPhone, it's going to say maybe Leon, maybe first name instead of unknown caller. It's just nice. And it also gives them a way to like, oh, this person called me. And then they see you already messaged them, gives you an easy way to reply back. And then you send 2 separate iMessages back to back, but I'll get to that in a second, and the email with the video link in it or whatever you promised, right? If you promise a video, which has one of the highest conversion rates for us, are just offering like a free personalized 3-4 minute video that the sales rep records for them. Or if it's too much, you personalize it per segment of your market, per industry, then you just send them the actual link in the response, obviously. So in the iMessage, you just say, hey, John, hey, someone. It's Leon from company. So sales rep from Salesforce here, putting your video together now because you send this immediately, right? Especially if you do personalized videos, you might not be able to send it within 5 minutes, which is fine, but just say something within 5 minutes. And then you send a separate message. It's now a good time for a quick call. Ideally, these are blue from a real iPhone, and separate messages is how humans text. So you should actually not automate this. Just have your reps type it out quickly. It's really easy. But it comes off very human. And that's what we like because people buy from people. And that's why this works. And then the email template, you just say, hey, first name, I've inserted a link to your video. And you just hyperlink the sentence. Or you say, I've inserted your free plan, free whatever you get, right? This worked well for our clients 1, 2, and 3. You could probably, for Salesforce, just like say the number of clients you have, like thousands of clients. Getting their reps working live deals inside a week. You ask them an open question, how many reps will be working in it? If you found this useful, like the thing that you sent them, I'd be happy to chat for 15 minutes. I might be able to shed more light on how you get your whole pipeline live without your team doing the setup using the same 5-day build we run every week. I can make time this week. Let me know. Thanks, Leon. LinkedIn. All right. LinkedIn is so you're a real person. It's a soft CTA. You ask an open question. A lot of responses you get are just going to be, yeah, it would be around 20 to 25. The video was quite useful. Do you have time later this week? All right. And then you can send another email and be like, yeah, to make life easier, here's my calendar link. Just have them book in. Or just be human. Affirm a time back and forth. That's how humans text. All right. And so this is the whole response handling thing. That's the initial response that you have. And then we go into follow-ups. And so we have this 20 touch point sequence that we like spread over a month, 10 emails, 7 calls, and 3 LinkedIn/iMessages. So on day 1, you just send this email and do this stop, right? And you send them a connection on LinkedIn. You can add a note or you can not add a note. You only get 15 notes a day on LinkedIn. So you might want to not do this. Doesn't really matter because they're going to recognize you from the email. On day 2, you just send them a LinkedIn message saying something like, hey, did you get a chance to watch a video I sent you by email? Something like that. Then we have a call and email with the angle how easy it is, right? It's like that the email land, want the video, call and email, trial how many reps would actually use it. Then you have call and email again on day 10, just like what they keep if they pass. Then that it's scoped to their seats, what breaks without it, 2 slots left, a build they can look at, then email only, email and iMessage, which is a breakup mail, right? We do this over 30 days. You can just screenshot the sequence. And so you say, hey, first name, just sent you a note about a free 5-day Salesforce build, connecting here in case your email is not your thing. See how human this is? Very nice. Then day 2, did that email land? Have you just send a 3-minute video of the build instead? Just give them alternate options, right? So we do this via LinkedIn, instantly makes you human. A lot of people actually prefer texting on LinkedIn other than email because it's more like a chat, but it's still not as personal as an iMessage. Then you have the email. So on day 4, you send this email, hey, first name, one more thing on the build, and you reply to the original thread, by the way. You never send a separate email. So they have the full context always. You spend 30 minutes on a call and send one export. We do the rest, one to Monday slot. Very easy to say yes to. So really just yes at what time. Day 7, hey, first name, the part peopleness on this, your 30 free days do not start until the build works, so none of the trial goes on setup. Want me to hold a slot? Want me to keep a time open for you this week? So on and so forth. Day 10, hey, first name, in case the risk is what's stopping you, look at it and pass, and you still keep the clean data file and the pipeline map. We never take a card. Worth 15 minutes. See how every objection that they might have gets answered within the follow-ups, always with an ask at the end. If you don't ask, no one's going to do anything. And if you don't address the objections, then that open question they will have in their mind will never be answered. And so one of these angles might hit, and that's when you book the meeting. What also helps is just having a phone number, which literally says call/text me, point number. Because then the second a prospect has questions, you can immediately call and get your answer. And it's the personal number of the rep, so you don't call and you sit in a line and you wait with music and stuff like that. That's not human. That's bullshit. All right. So that's what you can do, because people need information to act. And if you give them a way to get the information, to pull the information they need from you, then they're going to do that. And if you don't give them the option, then they won't, and they will just ignore you because no one answered their question. And so this is why you can put a LinkedIn and a phone number in your signature. Just don't put like any weird images or so on. Like branding really doesn't matter as much here. It just doesn't. I know people keep telling themselves a pretty logo and a banner and all these icons in the signature. They drop your conversion rates because it's confusing the prospect. Just keep it simple. Simple always wins, right? And the best companies know this. Day 13, you say, hey, first name, quick one. How many reps would be working in it? We scope the build to that, so a 10-person team gets a 10-person setup. This is very simple language, by the way. People will actually understand this. Want me to send what that looks like? Simple. Then what breaks without it? Hey, John, where do your deals sit when a rep is out for a week? That's the thing that usually makes people call us. I can show you the fix in 3 minutes. All right. Here, if this is like a HubSpot campaign, then actually take the most common injections for you, like things that are not good for them, and then put it in this. So you actually hit all the objections in these follow-up. Hey, first name, we run 8 builds a week, 2 slots left this month. 1 is yours if you want it. Yes or no is fine. This is a really nice email, especially this, a quick yes or no is fine, always gets a response pretty often. And it's also scarcity, which will get people to build sometimes. Then day 25, hey, John, client, a size person team was working live deals 4 days after the call, same build, same cost for nothing. Want theirs at a 3-minute walkthrough. So you just say a literal result that you got for it, this size of team, and you say what results they got in what short time frame after the same call that you now want this lead to put. So you connect the situation to someone who's already worked for, who's similar to that. All right. Then in one line on day 28, it's just, hey, first name, wrong thing or wrong time. We can also just say, hey, is getting outcomes still relevant for you? That's one of the highest response rate follow-ups you can send because it's extremely simple. And then you send the breakup mail and iMessage. You just say, hey, closing this out. The timing is wrong. Want the pipeline map used for team to your size. It's 1 page and it's yours either way. Just leave it with an open question so they can actually come back without needing to feel weird about it. So you say, we have this thing. Just let me know if you want it. You have it either way. Because a lot of breakup mails try to guilt trip the prospects into doing some random stuff or be like, hey, I'm going to close this now and we don't have any more spots left. And then no one gets back to you. If you say, hey, I prepared this thing and I just made it, you didn't respond, but hey, if you ever want it, it's still here. That's a good last mail because someone's going to see that even months later and be like, yeah, I do want that, right? Because people get busy or they're on vacation for a lot. You never know. And then same day, iMessage just to close it off. And that's the only iMessage we send after the initial one, just to not get spammy. Hey, first name from Salesforce. Sent a few notes about a free 5-day build. Want me to close the file or send you the pipeline now? Something like that. Just input your offer again. But yeah, that's essentially the entire system, including the offer,
the market, the scripts, the reply and response handling, and the follow-ups. We run this for software companies all the time. We recently booked like 230 demos in just 10 months for logistics software, also targeting mid-market enterprise accounts, booked meetings with Airbus, Salesforce, ironically, McKinsey company, Deloitte, Lockheed Martin, like BMW, Porsche, all these big companies. We managed to reach via full email. Also work with another client where we have a cold case study on. By the way, if you want us to run the cold emails for you and book these sales calls where you only pay per book call, you can click the first link in the description. I want to show you our exact strategy that we use to book 230 plus qualified demos in just 10 months for a software business that we've worked with in the logistics space. And I'm going to break down all the challenges we had, how we solved them, and how this led to like $5 to almost $10 million in ARR, attributed revenue, for outbound, which is insane, right? And so to give some context to what was being sold, it was a software as a service that was going to help with all sorts of logistics and fleet related things and the management of that whole thing. And we were targeting small businesses, but also mid-market companies. And we had some enterprise customers as well that we gained through the strategy that was a combination of cold email, LinkedIn, and cold calling. And so I want to just give you a brief overview so you can maybe get some ideas on what you can implement for your own software business. Because I've seen these things work for like other clients as well that we've had also in the software space. And it's pretty much applicable to any software, no matter what type of software it is, right? Because it's all foundationally the same. The customer is just different. And so the challenge we were facing here, let me write this down in red, is that we had relatively small TAM. So what we did is we divided this whole thing into SMB and mid-market, all right? And for SMBs, like small businesses, the TAM was big enough, like the total addressable market. We had enough companies to run a volume play. And volume is most often than not, or more often than not, the solution. It always is. So here we could just find a way to do more. And that was about it. So we found a way to do more dials, more cold emails, and didn't really go on the whole personalization route because there were so many of these businesses, some of which were local, some just like smaller businesses. There were so many of them in the whole region that we didn't need to like make every message count because there was just enough, right? And so you could do more of this like spraying approach. That doesn't mean the messaging was irrelevant, but I'll get to what scripts we used in a second. But it just means we had more chances. And then we had another issue, which was for mid-market, the TAM wasn't as big. Like we had 5,000 companies max, and 20% were already customers, right? Or like competitors' customers. And so we needed to find another strategy for that part of the sales team because the whole sales team was also split into two parts. So how did we do this? Well, there were two strategies. I'm going to start with the SMB outbound strategy. So how did this look like? Because we had volume on our side, all we really needed to do is be relevant and send a lot of volume. That was pretty much the thing. If we did these two things, then we would win. That was what I knew, and that's what we ended up doing. So in an email script, we tried to keep it very short. So we'd say something like, hey, John, and I'm going to give you a simplified version because I can't reveal too much about the product because NDA and all that stuff. But we basically started with a relevant question. So we said, are you struggling or are you currently struggling with keeping track of all your shipments? If so, we built this software that automates XYZ. Can I send you a video showing how? This was basically the entire email. And now the only thing we really needed to do is make sure that this first line is relevant because relevance beats personalization. You don't need to tell the people which school they went to. That doesn't really matter. What matters is relevance. That's the only personalization you need. And you can do this at scale, which means this email could go out exactly like this with a few variations of the first line, depending on what industry the small business was in.
And that was about it, because this will just adjust to that first line. And this is a video showing how it works. And so in our email platform, the sequencer, all of that, we could just make different variants for different parts, like different segments of that market, which you set up once and then you just blast. All right. So you are relevant here and here, and it's a very short email. And then you have the video strategy. And now what usually, and we also had another variation where you just sent Worth a quick chat, right? These were the two variations that we ran. To be honest, I don't have enough data to tell you like which of these closed more deals. What I do know is that Can I Send You a Video Showing How just got like double the positive responses. So if we assume that, then it also attributed more revenue. So I just use this, to be honest. And then you draft up an email like this that is extremely relevant but short to the point, and you send that to the entire market. We did this because the SMB market, the average ticket size was like under $10,000 in ARR, which means having high effort for these people was just not worth it. That was just not worth it. Later on, we also implemented a self-checkout, but that's another thing. You can close these people via email fully, but we'll get to that part. And so once they want the video, we made one short 5-minute like VSL that was per segment. So we didn't make it personalized to each person, but we made it personalized per segment. So if they were in a certain industry, we used their language in that 5-minute video. The videos has a very simple structure. It's basically like, hey, so-and-so, you're probably struggling with X, which is relevant to their industry. And then you go into the part, like the first feature of your software, and you explain it with outcomes, not as a feature, and you take the most important one that they have. So not just a random feature, but if you notice in all your demos that people ask for one thing all the time, that's the thing you should solve right away in that video. So you can literally say, you even name a number, 200 of our customers found this really important. So I'm going to start with that. Boom, boom, this is how it works. This is the problem. This is the solution. That's how it solves it. Done. We've done this for XYZ. You name 5 to 10 customers with slides for each one that shows a quantifiable result that is specific. And then you go into some other features that may be important for them and just say, hey, if this is relevant, just use the link or the button here. You can use Tela to record these videos and actually include a CTA button. Tela is way better than Loom. It's what we use for all of our internal videos, for YouTube videos, for everything. It's just amazing because you can have a CTA button in the video. So they watch it and they can book a call right away. And you can link this to your demo funnel, to whatever you have, right? And then also in the email where you send them that video, based on like they send you a positive response to this, and you say, okay, yeah, send me the video. In that email, you send them that link as well. And you also suggest times. So that's what you can do. And you record that video and you just say at the end, hey, if this is at all relevant, I'd love to show you how this will work for you specifically. If just press the button, pick a time, it's really easy. So this is what you do there. And then for the mid-market strategy, we had something similar in terms of what we give the people, but it was way more diversified. So in the SMB, we were also doing cold calls, but they weren't really researched. And then in the mid-market segment, we did personalized cold email, which means we actually typed them out by hand based on recent events that we followed on LinkedIn and their website. For example, if they had a new job opening for a position that was relevant to this, we draft an email specifically for that and then call them up with a personalized script as well. So we used to do a cold call that is researched. And we used to, in the first line, immediately say, hey, I just saw that you recently switched positions for this. Do you mind transferring me to the person in charge? Something like that, right? You immediately get to the point and you show that you researched. And then even when you reach the person, you say, hey, I just saw you started this new position and I wanted to ask you how are things going so far? Simple as that, because they tell you, yeah, I just got started. I had really nice conversations, especially with job changes. So you can try the strategy. We literally just go on a long-term play. With mid-market companies, your goal is not to immediately book a meeting because you have multiple decision makers. You need to multi-thread. You need to find multiple people, which you can only do if you network your way in there. So your first call shouldn't be a straight pitch. They're going to want to know what you're actually doing, and you can tell them that. But starting your conversation with a simple, like, how are things going for you so far? I heard a lot of times, especially when people are starting out, XYZ is a challenge. How's that for you? And then you just have a conversation with them. Like, hey, we do this. Do you mind if I just send you an email? No pressure at all. Just so you have it. And we can like call again in 30 days from now when you're a bit more relaxed from all the catch-up work you have to do. 99% of people said yes. And then you call them again and they're like, yeah, I remember you. And then you ask more about their business, about their specific problems, the impact of those problems, right? Any events that you have, like critical events, any decision criteria that they have, which is the spiced framework, by the way, if you didn't notice. So you're going to do these things because then you enter the company as a stranger, but you start knowing people. You know this guy, and then he says, oh yeah, I also talked to Sarah, who does this part. And now suddenly you have two decision makers because the stuff your software solves is split across departments, which it was in this case. We had multiple departments. We had finance, logistics, stuff like that. Which means that if you were to cold call a person without being personalized at all and you just pitch them a straight demo, sometimes it works. But that's not how you get a big account. And using this strategy, we book meetings with like Airbus, Lockheed Martin, all these big companies using this. If I send them a simple cold email and then didn't call them and I didn't connect with them on LinkedIn, which is, by the way, third step, connect on LinkedIn and actually engage with their posts with relevant stuff. If you don't do this, you're never going to get into the big companies. And there's some exceptions to that. If you have the right signals and you send like cold emails, automate, that works. But if you really want the big accounts, you're going to need to do this. At least that's what we did. And so the strategy for this one was similar with the CTA, because we literally just said, can I send you a video showing how it works, right? That was the first milestone we had in this thing. So we introduced ourselves and we had a chat and then we said, hey, do this. Can I just send you a quick video? I made it specifically for you. And that's the difference between these two segments. Is literally here we had a per segment personalized. Here we made it for the person. So in the video, you immediately start on the person's LinkedIn or their website. So they see within the first second, oh, this is just for me. This is special. This person actually put time into doing something for me without asking for anything. That's why this works. All right. I promise you the video strategy crushes everything else we ever did. And so because we only had a few companies in here, doing this personalized full approach made way more sense, which is how we got these accounts. Because doing this, you can't really get you can't burn the lead. That's impossible because you're doing stuff for them. Here, people will just unsubscribe. That won't happen if you do this, especially if you call. Cold calling is extremely underrated if you want to reach big accounts. That's just the truth. All right. If you have good data tools, you can reach executives at pretty big companies and pitch them your stuff, which on email would be very hard. So this is how we split up the strategy itself. This was just way more channels, more a long-term play, and more personalized. And then the next thing, the next problem we had, because now we solved the time allocation issue, right? And we got positive responses from both segments, but we wanted to book people. And the booking process for both, the improvements we did there, were pretty much the same. So why I'm just going to write this down here. First of all, times over calendar links. What does this mean? And there's a caveat to this, but suggesting 2 to 4 times in your cold call or a LinkedIn message, email, whatever you do, just saying, hey, I have time this week. Does tomorrow or Friday at 2 or 4 p.m. work for you? Works way better. And the difference is crazy. Works way better than just sending a calendar link. Now, only sending a calendar link will lead to people just, saying yes to the video and then never booking. That's what happens. The best combination is you do both. But I see so many people, and that's why I wanted to say this, only send calendar links and never send times. And that's where your booking rates are low. Okay, so this is fix number 1. You do both. You can say as a PS statement to your reply, hey, by the way, to make life easier, here's my calendar link. Done, right? Very simple. And then you give people options. Also, phone number in signature. So many times this gets overlooked, but it's so important because people are going to have questions, and it's impossible for you to give all the information, especially if you have a software with multiple features and add-ons and all this stuff, right? It's impossible to give them all the information that they need to make a decision in one video and 2 emails. So if you don't give people a way to ask their questions and get answers immediately, then that question will become too much of a resistance for them to take action, which means they won't take action. So you putting the phone number in the signature and literally saying, questions, question mark, call me, or call or text me, phone number. It works like you don't know how many calls we got just because the phone number was in the signature. It's that important. Same thing on your website, by the way. Put a phone number there. Some of the biggest leads we ever got, some of the biggest companies came through the website number because people searched up a solution and they had a phone number immediately to ask their question. And people were full with questions when they called. Never once was someone there and just said, "Hey, I want to book a call." They had questions. And there was a book a call button right next to it, but they chose to call because booking a 30-minute demo was too much for them. You need to give people the information that they need because the demo is not the first step. The demo is never the first step. The first step is them evaluating if it's worth their time. So you need to make it worth their time. And you do that by sending personalized videos, giving them times and calendar links, actually making personalized, giving you their personal phone number. Message me on LinkedIn, on iMessage, WhatsApp, call me. I don't care. Whatever is more convenient for you, I'm available. Just give people the options that they need, no matter how much operational complexity this adds on your end, if it makes it simpler for them. All right? Because that's how you get paid. And then third thing was speed to lead. And this is extremely important. Let me show you something. So this is our internal master inbox software that we use for our clients as well. And you can see that the booking rate within 5 to 15 minutes was about 84%. And the booking rate after an hour was like floating at around 20 on average, which literally means, let me go back here, you can 4x your business by just getting speed to lead right. Which means even if you hire 2 people to call, iMessage, and email every single lead within 5 minutes, it's going to be you will get a return on investment. 100% guarantee. So we were noticing that a lot of people were responding, but we had no proper response handling thing. We had Salesforce, but Salesforce UI is just messy. We all know this, it's complicated, which is why we built the software that literally gives us a reply handling function so that we can handle all the leads properly for our clients. And we noticed that people are getting back to these like 2 days later. And also for inbound, like price requests, demo requests, our speed to lead was at like 2 to 3 days, which means the booking rate was at like 15%. And so after we implemented our speed to lead system, which literally just meant make a template for an iMessage that comes from an iPhone, so a blue message that's personal. Make a template for an email with that personalized video, no matter which of these like markets you have, and double dial with a call, all within 5 minutes. You can get 80% booking rates, which means if you get 10 leads, 8 of them will book. Think about that. That's insane if you're running high volume. Let's say you get 100 positive responses from cold email because you send 10,000 a day or more. That's what we do for clients. You could book like 80 of them. 80. That's 80 sales calls. 60 of those are going to be qualified. Done. This is what it means to get speed to lead right. And that's why it's so important. Speed to lead is incredibly important if you're going to do anything, any action item for this right. Trust me. This is one of the most important things. The next thing we realized is that people who booked more than, 13 days out, never bought anything. Never. The first demo, from interest to the first demo, was more than like 2 weeks out. The close rate was like 5%. Whereas if they booked within 2 weeks, it was around 30, which is optimal. So limit booking window and analyze all of your customers that you have now by who spent the most, complained the least, and stayed the longest. All right? You're going to filter them and you're going to find like your top 20%. And then you're going to see, okay, when did they book? What do they have in common? That becomes your qualification criteria. And what you should do to improve your efficiency of your entire like outbound sales is to just not spend as much time on people who are not in that top 20%. Simple as that. You can have that top 20 per segment if you have multiple. That's fine. But the 80 bottom percent, you can have a separate funnel without a video, without any of this stuff, because it's just not worth your time. Your sales reps are falling behind because their CRM is cluttered, because they're spending the same amount of time for a high intent mid-market company and a low qualified SMB who wants some free stuff. They're spending the same amount of time. You have no lead scoring, you have nothing. And that's what we implemented. We filtered all the customers. We looked at all the data that we collected, extremely specific. And we found what commonalities do the best customers have. They booked within 14 days. They had this many employees in this area, so on and so forth. They booked the second call this many days from the first call. All of the stuff that you should collect, you can find, filter, and then find your best customers. And then guess what? You're going to give your SDRs and AEs clear qualification criteria as to who is high intent and low intent. And then you can literally score your leads in 2 buckets. Priority, not a priority. Keep it simple. Don't make medium, low, high, extra high, ultra, whatever. Priority, not a priority. That's it. And then your CRM suddenly becomes very clear, and you can give each rep a daily task. Work on your priority leads first until they're on 0 and you have no tasks open, and only then even look at the other one. Don't look at the low priority ones until all the high priority ones are dealt with. This is how you get more revenue. All right? And so for this whole SMB thing, we had a strategy where we just bought 20 domains with 3 inboxes each, which spreads out. Looks something like this, right? This is our email system overview. We had multiple domains and inboxes, and then we had this platform and a database that we pulled from multiple sources, including our own 800 million people database and all the stuff that we already have internally. So basically get responses, and then we trained the entire SDR team to follow speed to lead with the correct messaging, following the principles of making it personalized, fast, and human. All right? And so if you do all of these things, you set up that infrastructure for your lower market customers, then that just helps in terms of revenue, because you can't really do much personalized stuff for low paying customers. It's just not worth it. All right? Anything with under $5,000 in ticket size should be self-checkout anyway. By the way, if you don't think that works, Tesla is selling cars on self-checkout, so this stuff works. Apple is selling stuff worth tens of thousands on self-checkout to consumers. So yes, you can do this, you just need to get it right. And I was talking about qualification, and that's the last point I want to talk about. Qualification needs to be binary. We had a whole sales team that was constantly arguing if a lead is qualified or not, because we had an SDR and AE split, and SDRs were only supposed to book qualified demos, and the whole thing of qualified was constantly changing because everyone had a different perception, because our qualification criteria wasn't clear. And so we switched it up to literal binary numbers. If they have 10 plus employees, it equals qualified, which means if they have 9 employees, not qualified. There's no discussion here. It's a number. You can't argue about a number. So if you have qualification, you have frameworks. You say, okay, let's use the SPICE framework. Situation, pain, impact, critical event, decision. All right, you have all this criteria per thing. Or you have BANT, right? Budget, authority, need, timing. You have these criteria per segment in that framework. You need to make it binary. As soon as it's not binary and it's something that you can only base on intuition or feeling, then people are going to start arguing. Which also means if you incentivize the right way, for example, if you pay your SDRs only per qualified demo they book, and then you don't have clear criteria, and then the account executives are like, yeah, this isn't qualified, but the SDRs get paid based on what the AE now says, that's shit. Everyone should be in control of their salary, which means if you want to incentivize people to book qualified stuff, you can pay them per qualified demo, but you need to make the criteria binary, so it cannot be argued. And you can find this criteria by analyzing your entire customer base, by who spend the most, complain the least, stay the longest. and arguably who got the best results from your product. That's also important. So this is the thing we did. We had a relatively small TAM, so we did a personalized outreach strategy, and we had a bigger TAM where we did a semi-personalized outreach strategy without all the like direct SDR involvement. We improved the booking process because we included times and not just calendar links. We included phone numbers, which means we got like hundreds of calls per month more. We got speed to lead right, which 4x'd our booking rates, and we limited the booking window, so we only got the best customers, and no one argued anymore because the qualification criteria was clear. And this is how we booked 230 demos with a nice closing rate. We fixed the entire sales motion, all in 10 to 11 months for the software company. And by the way, if you want us to book these sales demos for you, fully done for you, without you really needing to do anything, you can click the first link in the description. We'll get you qualified calls on your calendar. It's fully done for you. You only pay per book demo. We clearly define who's qualified and who's not. We give you the warm introductions, handoff notes for your AEs. We integrate it all in your CRM and much more stuff. Just click the first link. We've sent like 20 million cold emails so far, booked thousands of demos. We teach like 81 people in our school community how this stuff works. I have a bunch of clients. You can all see the results on that page as well. And yeah, we can do this for you. Just see if it's a fit. Go on a quick call. And yeah, if you like more of this stuff, then just subscribe and like, and I'll see you in the next video.